What if Naruto mastered both chakra and the force? Part 2. How? How could you do something like this? Anakin asked quietly as the two Jedi looked at the contents of the room in horror. All the senators and the general were dead along with Padme, who had been stabbed in the chest. Naruto was in the center of the room where the table and chairs used to be, discarding the table earlier in battle because the up-incoming battle that Naruto planned for. Naruto simply stared emotionlessly into Anakin's eyes with his Mangekyo Sharingan ready for any stealth attacks. Anakin's fists started to clench and he began to shake in anger. Damn it, Naruto, answer me! Anakin shouted at the top of his lungs. Naruto never wavered as he watched Anakin get angrier and angrier. Yoda looked at Anakin with concern. Calm down, Yoda started but stopped when Anakin pulled his lightsaber out. I'm going to kill you for what you did, Anakin shouted. Anakin charged Naruto with blood in his eyes. Naruto never pulled out his lightsaber as he dodged stab that was sent at him. Naruto grabbed Anakin's wrist and pulled him closer to himself. Naruto quickly backhanded Anakin the side of the face. Anakin stumbled back towards Yoda even angrier than before. Calm yourself, young one. Anger will only lead to defeat, Yoda said as Anakin balanced himself. Yoda's advice fell onto deaf ears as Anakin charges Naruto with the intent to kill. Naruto shook his head and ducked under the horizontal swipe for his neck. Naruto punched Anakin in the stomach and followed it up with a punch to his chin, making Anakin fly back against the wall, effectively knocking Anakin out. Yoda sighed and shook his head at the ease that Anakin was dispatched. Is this what all Jedi are like on the inside? A raging helpless dog that, when never hurt closely, jumps blindly into an enemy that is stronger than them. Naruto asked Yoda emotionlessly. That is what happens when a Jedi is blinded by anger. Something in this room must have struck him close, Yoda said while looking at the dead inside of the conference room. Naruto nodded his head. So, let us begin, Naruto said, as he pulled out his black lightsaber in his reverse grip. Yoda pulled his out as well. Then I'll take the initiative then, Yoda as he dashed towards Naruto with amazing speed. To most, this speed would be hard to keep up with, but to Naruto, he could easily see the Yoda with ease. Green and black smashed into each other as the battle of two of the most powerful beings in the galaxy smashed into each other. XXXXX. There's a spec sniper in the second floor. 4 windows from the right. Rex shouted to his men as they battled the droids and spec troopers outside the Separatists' HQ. Fighting over this building has been fierce as clone troopers steadily pushed the droids back into the building. The only hard part was when they ran into spec troopers that were bunkered in strong points and they surrounded by droids. A clone sniper aimed his scoped rifle at the spec trooper to counter-snipe the elite spec trooper. I see him. Hold on. The clone sniper adjusted his scope and aimed again. There you are. Say goodbye, you filthy. The trooper started but was cut off as a white blaster slammed into the sniper's skull, making him slump to the ground. Damn it. You, with the bazooka, blow that fucking window to hell. Rex shouted as red blasters peppered all around him. The cover that he was behind was starting to shorten by the intense fire that was being put out by the droids inside the HQ and from the buildings around them. What is taking Charlie and Delta so long to clear those buildings? Rex thought as the clone with the bazooka aimed and fired at the spec sniper inside the Separatist HQ. The spec sniper flew out from window and landed in the droid lines. Good shot, Rex shouted as he patted the clone that fired the bazooka on the back, but stopped when he saw the spec sniper steadily get up while holding his arm. Another droid helped him up as they slowly made their way back inside the HQ. Oh no you don't, Rex shouted as he jumped from his cover and chased after the wounded sniper. The other clones saw this as a charge and soon stood up and followed their lieutenant into the fortified droid line. Blasters flew past Rex as he set his sight on the sniper as they slowly made their way up the long stairs where large chunks of rock and steel lay all across the stairs to the front entrance. Rex jumped over the droid's cover and past several droids and toward his target. The clones followed Rex over the wall but stayed and fought the droids there. Rex soon caught up to the two and fired his rifle at the pair. The blast hit the droid in the back, making it fall to the ground dead. Rex kicked the spec trooper over so he could face Rex. The spec trooper has gas mask and helmet on like all the other spec troopers, but one of the eyepieces to his gas mask has been cracked due to the fall from the window. Rex held his rifle to his face and one of his feet on the spec's chest. Why are you here? Why are spec troopers fighting in this battle? Rex shouted over the battle that was behind them and the blasters that flew over them from the windows. The spec trooper simply stared back into Rex's eye as if asking him to pull the trigger. Damn it, tell me, why are all you here? Rex said as he started to remember what happened to the crew that was inside the walker. Tears started to roll down his cheeks and from his helmet as he looked at the gas mask of the spec trooper. The spec trooper tried to say something but all Rex saw was blood run down from the bottom of Spec's gas mask. Rex gently pulled off the spec's helmet and gas mask to reveal something that filled him with horror. He looked exactly like him. You're a clone. Rex stuttered out as he took his foot of the spec's chest and dropped the aim of his rifle. The spec trooper grinned at the sight of the clone in front of him. Yes, I am, the spec trooper said as he coughed up more blood. Then why are you on their side? You should be with us, Rex whispered. The spec laughed at this. What's so funny? Rex asked. He grew a little angrier from the spec's laughing. Do you remember the cloning bats that were stolen a little while back? The spec trooper said he started to slip into a blissful sleep. Rex remembered then it hit him like a ton of bricks. Why didn't they tell us? Rex asked to no one in particular. They were scared that if you guys ever faced us in battle that you pity us go easy instead of the fierceness that you show against the droids, but let me tell you a little secret, the spec sniper said as Rex leaned closer to hear what he had to say. The spec grabbed the top of Rex's armor and pulled him to his face and whispered, we will not hesitate to shoot you at will. We will kill you if we saw it that you are going to disrupt our mission. So tell the other that we are clones but know this, we will kill you if we need to. And with that the clone let go of Rex's armor and died. Rex looked at the spec trooper for what seemed like hours until he picked up the spec's gas mask and put back onto the spec's face and returned his helmet to its rightful place on the spec's head. I won't tell the others about this. It will make their job too hard for them, Rex thought as he looked back down at the battle. The droids were all gone and the clones were behind the wall that once served as droids' cover and were firing their rifles and other weapons at the HQ. The surrounding builds seemed to be clear as blur blasters were being fired out of the windows towards the HQ. Rex himself was near the door and at an angle where the droids couldn't hit him, so the blasts were being fired all above him. Rex slowly walked to the large door and sat against it. The information that he just learned still spinning in his head. So we were fighting our own brothers this entire time, Rex said as he took off his helmet and buried his head in his hands. Clone demolition teams were moving up to blow the door open so they could enter the well-fortified building. XXXXX. Yoda clashed lightsabers with the mercenary once more and jumped back to get some room between them. This man is truly gifted in the arts of the lightsaber, but he has not demonstrated any use in the Force, Yoda thought as he did a force push at Naruto, but Naruto lifted his hand that wasn't busy and pushed back with a black aura. The two stopped the power play and looked into each other's eyes. I see you do not use the Force, I have heard of your unique powers from the others did come in contact with you and were able to witness your power. Tell me, are you a servant of the dark side? Yoda asked as they caught their breath. Naruto less tired than Yoda. I am not aligned with the Separatists or the Republic if that is what you are inquiring. I fight for myself and nothing more, Naruto answered emotionlessly. I can see that have been through a lot in your past. You have suffered too much for one being to endure and for that I respect you, but that does nothing to stop the fighting between us, Yoda said as he readied himself for anything that may be thrown at him. Naruto lifted his hand that was unoccupied and formed a single hand seal. Another Naruto soon dashed towards Yoda. Yoda in turn sliced the clone in half but backed up when another clone was over him and sent a kick towards his head. Yoda was awestruck when he was able to see that indeed the Naruto he struck was just a decoy and the original Naruto never moved a muscle. The clone Naruto soon dashed at Yoda and began fighting him as the original Naruto began to shoot through one-handed seals and lifted his arm and pointed towards Yoda. Lightning shot no jutsu, Naruto said calmly as the blue lightning ripped through the ground towards Yoda. Yoda quickly finished off the clone, because the clones are only half as good as the original, and made a force shield against the deadly lightning. The lightning smacked against the shield and died away just as fast. I see. Naruto needs to go through hand signs in order to use those attacks, Yoda thought as he ran towards Naruto. Naruto swiftly tried an underkick but Yoda simply jumped over the kick and stabbed Naruto in the neck. Yoda let go of his lightsaber as Naruto stumbled back from his wound to the neck. And this is why you are weak, young one, Yoda said as he walked towards Naruto to obtain his lightsaber but stopped when there was a black beam across his neck. You underestimate me, wise one, Naruto said from behind Yoda. The Naruto with the lightsaber threw his neck puffed from existence, leaving the lightsaber on and on the ground. Another Naruto walked from behind Yoda and picked up his lightsaber and turned it off. Maybe I have, Yoda said as he relaxed as he noticed Naruto taking good care of his lightsaber. The Naruto walked back to the Naruto behind him and gave him the lightsaber. Naruto soon turned off his lightsaber and Chakra pushed Yoda gently to the other side of the room. Yoda turned but froze when a blue lightsaber was stuck through Naruto's back and out the front. Anakin turned off his lightsaber so he could watch as Naruto stumbled forward towards Yoda as blood stained his pure white uniform. Naruto began to spit up blood into his pure white scarf, as he looked into Yoda's shocked eyes. Since you took away the life of someone that was precious to me, then I will take away yours, Anakin said emotionlessly. Naruto turned towards Anakin and grinned. Oh, how I enjoyed killing her. She was certainly a screamer when I slowly pushed my lightsaber into her chest, Naruto said with an empty grin. To Yoda, it seemed forced and that Naruto was not enjoying saying it, but to Anakin, it was like he enjoyed what he did. You bastard, I'll fucking kill you, Anakin shouted as he turned his lightsaber back on and charged the helpless form of Naruto. Just as Anakin was about to slice of Naruto's head, Yoda blocked the strike. Stop this immediately, don't you see what he is doing? Yoda shouted as he pushed Anakin off of him and away from Naruto. Shut up and let me kill him, Anakin said in pure rage. Naruto was soon standing up behind Yoda. Yoda in turned and looked at Naruto. He had no wounds. How are you not wounded anymore? Yoda asked in curiosity. Naruto grinned underneath his scarf as the world around them began to melt away. The two Jedi soon saw themselves standing next to each other with Naruto sitting in a large chair at the end of the long table. The three senators and a dead general in the corner of the room. The two Jedi were breathing heavily while Naruto seemed perfectly fine. The three senators seemed frightened as they were able to watch the entire scene play out from their seats. What just happened? Yoda asked. Genjutsu. The entire thing that you saw before was an illusion, Naruto said simply. Padme seemed frightened by a dark Anakin. Anakin quickly made his way towards Padme and hugged her for comfort. What was that? Padme asked into Anakin's chest as the Jedi seemed to begin to cry. I thought I lost you. You were my life, Padme. When I thought that Naruto killed you, I went ballistic and tried to get revenge, Anakin whispered into Padme's shoulder. Yoda continued to ask questions, as Anakin talked to what Yoda thought was his childhood friend. But the entire ordeal felt so real and even now I feel tired from the ordeal, Yoda asked. Genjutsu makes your sensory organs think that they are fighting while in reality you are doing nothing but standing there motionless. I can move around outside the Genjutsu but are unable to, Naruto explained. This power is truly incredible. I will have to watch out for this one, Yoda thought as Anakin stood up from his knelt position next to Padme. Anakin looked directly into Naruto's eyes to get a good look at him. Why did you do all this? What was your mission? Anakin demanded. My mission was to help take Naboo's capital and to force you experience hatred, Naruto said simply as he stood from his seat. You are unable to leave, mercenary. You must be taken and set to trial for the crimes you have dealt to us, Yoda said. Naruto shook his head as Rex and 5 other troopers ran to the door's entrance. The building is secure. All droid and spec troopers are reported as dead. Rex shouted as he noticed Naruto slowly walking towards them. They were good men. I hope to see them in the afterlife, Naruto said with his eyes closed. Naruto then began to sprint as he quickly opened his eyes. They seemed to be strained. Amida Sharingan, Naruto shouted as he simply disappeared. The 3 clones dropped to the ground due to being pushed out of the way. Yoda and Anakin was shocked and looked out the window to see Naruto's ship retreating towards the separatist ship was still battling it out in the sky. Yoda shook his head. We are going to have to watch this one. It could be dangerous if we don't start hiring him, Yoda said as he looked over to where Anakin was still watching the ship that Naruto retreated to. It seems that Anakin is going to be troubled by Naruto's genjutsu for a while. Let's hope that we can find a way counter this power and soon, Yoda thought as he turned to the troubled senators who were talking amongst themselves. I will find out who you truly are, Naruto. If it's the last thing I will do. Anakin thought as he continued to stare into the retreating separatist ship's engine. XXXXX. Sorry for another short one, but my weeks until I get out of school will be busy. So, if I can get out a chapter then I'm lucky. I promise that I will pay more attention to the stories once I get out for the summer. Until then, auf Wiedersehen. How went your mission? Dooku asked as Naruto walked into the bridge of the separatists' battleship. Mission accomplished, Naruto returned emotionlessly. Dooku grinned evilly as he turned to the holopad in the center of the room. Good job my friend, my master wishes to speak with you. Will you accept? Dooku asked as he put a finger on the button on the console of the pad. I will talk to him, Naruto said. Dooku pressed the button and a man with dark cloak and a hood that covered his face appeared on the hologram. Is this him? The shady figure asked. Yes master, this is him, Dooku replied. Ah yes, I've heard much about you. Tell me, do you summon that strange colored force by utilizing in the dark side? The shady figure asked. No Mr. Counselor, Naruto said emotionlessly. Both of the Sith Lords were shocked at what Naruto has figured out so quickly. How did you figure it out? Dooku asked. A good mercenary always looks at all his information about his clients before accepting the contract. I knew that Dooku had a master but meeting you just confirmed my suspicions, Naruto said. I see. Well, tell me, are you going to shout this information to the entire galaxy? Or, are you going to keep it on the low? The counselor asked as Dooku shifted towards his lightsaber and the droids at the door cocked their guns. Naruto looked at his surroundings and shook his head. I'm entitled to keep any information that I gather from a mission a secret, and since you have yet to pay me I am technically still on the mission, Naruto said as he shifted towards the briefcase that a droid commando was holding near the door. Good. Then I trust you in the respective, but you still haven't told us how you use that strange black power, the counselor asked. Naruto shook his head. I cannot tell you how I use my power and where it comes from. I'm sorry, Naruto said. I also respect your secrets. Think of it as payment for keeping our secret a secret, the counselor said before disappearing from the holopad. Dooku turned to Naruto. Here is the payment for the mission, but I must ask, why did you not use both lightsabers? I have confirmed information that you use 2 different styles at the same time with 2 lightsabers. Why only use one? Dooku asked out of curiosity. I only use 2 when I am being pushed to my limits. Facing against an angry Anakin was simple because he was so blinded by anger that I never needed to use a lightsaber at all, Naruto said as he turned to leave. The commando droid gave the money to Naruto as he left the bridge to his fighter that was in the hangar. Well, that was a simple mission. Facing Yoda was most entertaining though, Naruto said as he jumped onto his fighter but stopped when Dooku called his name once more. Naruto, from my information you face against Yoda, Dooku said. Naruto simply nodded. Tell me, did you win your battle? Dooku asked with interest. You could say that, Naruto said as he jumped into his fighter and took off into space. So, Naruto was able to beat Yoda. You are truly a strong mercenary, Naruto, Dooku thought as he walked back to the bridge of the ship. There, waiting for him was the counselor. Is the attack plans ready for the hostile takeover? The counselor asked. The attack plans have been looked over time and time again and the invasion planet 946 will be underway soon enough, Dooku said with an evil smile. XXXXX. How did the mission go? One of the Jedi asked as Yoda and Anakin stood in front of the council. Our mission was a success but we took heavy casualties due to the presence of spec troopers who commanded the droids making them more tactically smarter and the showing of the super weapon once more, Anakin said. I see. Was there any other problems that you encountered? Another Jedi asked. Yes, Naruto was there, Anakin whispered but everyone heard. That could have been a problem if Yoda hadn't agreed to go along, Mace Windu said. Actually, the mercenary is equal or stronger than me. Naruto's power grows with every passing moment, Yoda said, earning a collective of gasps from around the room. If he is more powerful than you, then he is one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Mace Windu said. This is a problem. If we are going to ever defeat him then 2 or more Jedi will have to face him at once. Everyone remembers what happened at the grassy village where the Lurmen live, Anakin announced to the group of Jedi. Yes, everyone was told of this. Naruto was able to fight on par with 3 Jedi and even managed to kill 1. That was a grim day indeed. This may be a problem in the future. Issue the order that if any one Jedi that would come in contact with Naruto to flee, Mace Windu said to a commando who was standing next to the door. So we cannot face him up front? Anakin asked, a little peeved that Naruto got the best of the Jedi Council. No, but what we can do is spy on all of his mission until we have a good understanding on what all his powers are, and when the opportune time comes we can strike or strengthen our relationship with the lone mercenary, Mace Windu replied. Everyone seemed to agree with Mace Windu. As Obi-Wan and Anakin walked out of the room, Anakin had to ask what was on his mind. The Jedi using the art of spying and deception. That is against our rules, Anakin said as they walked down the stairs. That may be true, but there are special cases that we are forced to use these tactics, Obi-Wan replied in his teacher mode. Anakin nodded in understanding. Naruto was one person that you didn't want to face alone or you would be as good as dead. XXXXX 3 weeks later. Naruto was currently sitting in the cafeteria of the base with several of his men sitting close by eating and talking with the occasional laugh from a joke along with his trainer in the rifle Cash. Cash was a human girl from the planet of Tatooine and was raised as a slave but learned how to shoot from her dad for self-defense. Cash had brown hair, brown eyes, tan skin, and was 5.6 feet and was the same age as Naruto, which is 20. She joined the White Knights because she nowhere else to turn to and Rajan must have saw her talents in ways of the rifle. Naruto was currently taking a break from another short mission that only needed to take care of a local drug lord somewhere on the inner rim. Naruto didn't much care, but something caught his interest when he heard the planet 946 mentioned in conversation by the spec troopers next to him. Yeah, haven't you heard from our spy ring in the separatist faction? The droid army is planning an attack soon on planet 946. I've heard that they don't even know the art of space travel yet. Exclaimed one of the spec troopers. Naruto flinched at this. Why are they attacking them? From what I've heard, the people of the planet are harvesting all the resources that are there and are taking great care of the planet. If the separatists take the planet, then they would only pollute the planet. Replied one spec trooper. It was true what the spec trooper said. Generally, when the separatists take a planet, they build factories and build droids from there. We know, but since we are a mercenary group, we can only watch in hopes that the Republic is able to stop the attack, another spec trooper from another table said. Naruto stood abruptly and walked back to his quarters. The spec troopers and Cash looked at Naruto's cloaked form with questioning eyes as Naruto turned and left the group to wonder why he did that action. Is it something I said? Asked one of the spec troopers. His men have come to look up to Naruto as well as the other men that are in the other groups. With Naruto's 100% mission success rate and amazing leadership ability, Naruto quickly became the person to turn to in need of help. Although Naruto was still as emotionless as ever to everyone around him, but his men seemed to not care at all. No, there has to be something connecting Naruto to that planet. Everyone lock and load. I think we are going somewhere, Cash said to the group of men sitting around her. The spec troopers nodded and ran off to tell the others to meet at the bridge and get ready for a long fight, just in case. Cash is also under the command of Naruto as well, but she was still better with the rifle than Naruto was. Naruto was getting better and better at an alarming rate. Naruto entered his room and grabbed his cloak and weapons from the sealed areas inside the locked area inside his metal closet. Much of the base looked the inside of a submarine except a little bigger. Naruto sat on his bed and looked at the metal ceiling of his room, think for what seemed like eternally. Naruto then unsealed his hat and placed it upon his head. Naruto's walk to the hull was silent, but when Naruto entered the bridge he saw all his men on board transport ships, ready to take off to where he commanded. Cash walked up to Naruto. Now you don't think you are going to defend that poor planet all by yourself now, do you? Cash said with a smile. Naruto shook his head with a grin that was underneath his hat, scarf, and cloak, well, all the above. Looks like I don't have much of a choice now, do I? Naruto said as he walked over to his fighter and jumped into it. All right everyone, just follow me and you will all be fine. Naruto shouted to his 100 men in the 10 drop ships behind him. All of the new Naruto would never hurt them in any way, shape or form. When they were about to exit the bridge, Naruto caught a glimpse of Rajan standing next to the door leading into the hull. Rajan was simply smiling at what Naruto was doing. Naruto grinned underneath his clothing as the small army shot off into the distance. XXXXX. Welcome home, big brother, a black-haired figure said to a taller black-haired figure that was wearing an Anbu uniform on. The shorter of the two jumped into the awaiting arms of the taller one. Glad to be home, Sasuke, Itachi said as he let go of Sasuke. Sasuke was currently the Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, while Itachi was the captain of the Anbu. After the war that ends all wars, people have been prospering and living in quiet and easy peace. Since crime and other things of this sort decreased drastically after the war, the number of ninja in all the villages has decreased to where the only ninja left were Anbu and the special few that wanted to learn. So cut the ninja population to about half to what it was before the Great War. People throughout the world still hates Naruto to their very core, but some people are starting to come around and see what actually happened. Sound and Rain still hold their secret allegiances to never tell what the lamb means to anyone, even their own children. Expecting this secret to die with their generation as well as all the wrongs that they've committed against the world. The Rookie Nine as well as Sasuke and Itachi have still been training in order to get to the level that Naruto achieved. Everyone sees Sasuke as the hero of the world because he defeated Naruto single-handedly, but Sasuke doesn't see himself stronger than Naruto because Sasuke knew that Naruto was stronger than him at the time of their battle and he simply held back. Itachi was emotionless to everyone except Sasuke. Currently, Sasuke was at home sitting on the roof where Itachi normally met his little brother to look at the stars. They love to look at the stars in remembrance of everything that has happened to their family and what was left of it. There are only 3 members of the Uchiha clan left, and that was Sasuke, Itachi, and Madara, who disappeared shortly after the end of the Great War. Where do you think Naruto is right now? Sasuke said as they both looked into the sky with their coal black eyes. Probably kicking some ass somewhere else, Itachi said as a star shot across the sky. Make a wish. Sasuke and Itachi both closed their eyes and wished for the same thing. I wish I could see you one last time, Naruto, they both wished as the star shot off into the horizon. They continued to look into the moonlit sky until a feminine voice came from below them. Dinner, the voice of Sakura said from the kitchen. Shortly after the war, Sasuke married Sakura because she seemed to have grown out of her stupid fangirly stage to the point where she was bearable. Itachi and Sasuke looked to each other and smiled. Right then and there the two most powerful ninja in the world were in pure bliss. XXXXX. Bet you can't guess what's happening next. Smiley face, I hope you all like this new twist. We were unable to find the impact site Hokage-sama, and Anbu said while bowing to Sasuke inside of his office. The night before while Itachi and himself were on the roof their home looking into the peaceful sky that they witnessed meteor hit the surface of their planet. The impact made a bright flash the distance that was clearly in Iwa's borders. A joint team of Anbu from both Iwa and Kohono was sent to investigate the area but came up with nothing. I see. Thank you Rat-san, Sasuke said as the Anbu with the bird mask disappeared from the room. Sasuke sighed and turned in his chair to look out over the village of Kohono. The village has grown over the years and was growing close to the village that was in Sound territory. What do you need, brother? Itachi asked from the front of the desk. Sasuke turned to look his brother in the eye. Itachi has the raven mask on to hide his identity, but was still the head of Leaf Sanbu Corps. Thank you for coming. Will you check out the crash site? I know you will be able to find it if you tried, Sasuke said with a smile. Sure, but why is everybody so worked up about this? Itachi asked in curiosity. Well, some of the people thought it was a UFO that crashed into the area high in the mountains. Where they got that idea I don't know, but to silence these crazy people we are going to find this crash site and prove that it's just a meteorite, Sasuke said, informing his older brother of the situation at hand. The mission will be done, Hokage-sama, Itachi said and disappeared from the room. This has been the first public outcry since the Great War. What could this mean? Itachi thought as he ran out the gates of Kohono and towards the borders of Iwa. XXXXX Night of the Bright Light. Shit, why does the atmosphere have to be so condensed? Naruto shouted as his fighter went crashing down into what was clearly Iwa's mountains. Naruto knew this because when he was at war with every country in the world he had to study every geological area in every country. So yes, he knew his way around. Naruto's ship smashed into what seemed like a small cave. Naruto ejected just before the small fighter went crashing into the cave and it didn't help that Naruto had fuel to last him a trip there and back to Pantora 5 times. Naruto immediately jumped behind a rock that was large enough to shield himself from the blast that was sure to happen. Sure enough, the blast erupted that almost blinded Naruto but he was saved due to the straw hat that was swiftly pulled in front of his face. Once the blast died down, Naruto stood up and looked all around him. The rocky earth was charred beyond belief because of the blast and Naruto was sure that the light from the blast was seen from all around the area. Well this is bad. Anbu are going to be all over my ass in a matter of hours Naruto thought as he turned to the dark mountain behind him. The spot that he crashed was truly beautiful. Naruto could see the entire valley that made up the breadbasket of Iwa with the capital that Deidara massacred on the opposite side of the valley. There was a full moon that lit up the entire area that just added to the tranquility of the scene. Naruto wore his pure white uniform and cloak while he had on his gas mask and straw hat that covered up his face completely. This was quite the time to land, but I need to cover this up before the obvious Anbu show up. Naruto thought as he did a few earth jutsu that covered up the entrance to the cave while also clearing the area of any charred markings of his crash. Damn it, forgot to cover my chakra. This might be a problem if someone with the Sharingan or Byakugan shows up. They can easily track me down. Naruto thought to himself. Since he used to be around people that never used chakra, Naruto never needed to mask his chakra until now. It has been a while since then. Now back to my mission. Now we agreed to meet on an island near the capital of water. Great, I was blown off course big time, Naruto thought as he began to walk towards the island that he told his men to land. XXXXX. It was the middle of the day when Itachi arrived at the mountains that the believed UFO crashed. Itachi swiftly activated his normal Sharingan and made about 20 shadow clones and started to scout the mountain. As to this day, Itachi and Naruto were the only ones believed to have mastered this technique. About 1 hour later 19 of the clones were gone while the last one was still searching. What is taking that clone so long? Maybe, Itachi was stopped from his musings when a rush of useful information rushed into his head. It seems that his last clone near the top of the mountain has found something. Itachi quickly dashed to the site where his clone found the evidence. Upon entering the site where his clone found the information to find one of the most beautiful sights in his life. Looking out over the lush green valley that made up Iwa's breadbasket and at the end of the valley the jewel that made up Iwa's new Iwakage Tower. It was built into the side of the mountain as to give it support from another attack. Itachi was quickly shot from his musings when another chakra signature seemed to be directly above him. An Anbu from Iwa was standing in front and blinked on an eye. Hello Raven-san. State your business inside the borders of Iwa please, the Iwa Anbu with a rhino mask on asked. I'm currently looking for the crash site from the bright light, Itachi returned with a grin. Iwa and Leaf have been getting along great ever since the Great War ended. They were two largest powers after they took rain and sound from the top. The people of Iwa still a little ill intentions towards sound as does the countries of Swamp and Star because the treatment the sound ninja gave to the population of the three countries. I see. Any luck? Can I be of any assistance? The Rhino Anbu asked as two other Iwa Anbu jumped into view. Itachi, of course, knew that they were there the entire time. If you wish to stay then so be it, but you do not need to if you don't want to, Itachi said emotionlessly as he continued to look around area with his Sharingan. The three other Anbu started to search the area as well. It was about another 15 minutes until Itachi finally found something. There seemed to be the use of chakra in the side of the cliff as to make sure no one get into the area. There was also a trap set up so no one could mess with the area or the entire area would simply blow up. What did you find? An Anbu with a bull mask on asked. I found the use of chakra in the side of this cliff, Itachi explained to the three Iwa Anbu. It's embedded into the side of the mountain. Bull asked. Yes, Itachi replied while looking at the chakra that was used. Itachi truly wished that he brought a Hyuga with him so he could see what was on the inside. But this could mean anything. Is there someone here to cover up the crash and take away whatever fell from the sky? Anything is possible, an Anbu with a monkey mask on said to the group. True, but I think I found out where this ninja that stole the meteorite went, Itachi said as he looked towards the path where the unknown ninja traveled. The ninja seems to be simply walking so the thief was only a half a day's away. Are we going to catch him? Bull asked. Well no shit, Rhino said as he slapped Bull over the head. Monkey and Itachi simply sweat dropped at this as the two started on their way down the path at high speeds. XXXXX 12 hours later. Shish, we are approaching the target, Itachi whispered to the group behind him as they approached the ninja who simply stood in the center of a clearing. The ninja left the mountains a while ago and was now in the foothills of the border near the Iowa swamp countries. Maybe he isn't hostile, Monkey asked. True, let's approach as if we are friends, Rhino suggested. Itachi and everyone seemed to agree with this as all four Anbu entered the clearing. In the center of the clearing was a man about Itachi's height wearing a pure white cloak that went from his heels to his nose area. He was also wearing a straw hat that shaded his face, making it impossible to see underneath. The breeze fluttered the bottom of his cloak as they entered the clearing. What do you wish of me? The figure asked in a very static voice. It seems that a mask of some sort was muffling his voice. We traced you back to the crash site of the bright light. What are you covering up and what did you take? Monkey asked with authority in his voice. The figure turned around to face them but they could still not see past the darkness that made up his face. I've felt this chakra signature before but from where? Itachi thought as the white-cloaked figure stared at the three Anbu in front of him. I'm not covering anything up Monkey-san, as well as take anything, the white-cloaked man said in his static voice. That's a lie, we traced you back to the crash site. Now what did you take? Rhino shouted. Sorry, but you must have me mistaken for someone else, the static voice of the white-cloaked ninja stated. This static voice was beginning to piss off the Iowa hotheads that was Bull and Rhino. Monkey was beginning to get angry himself while Itachi was as calm as ever. If you don't tell us then we will have to get the information by force, Bull said angrily as the three Iowa Anbu began to pull their weapons. Then I am not responsible for your deaths, the white-cloaked man said as he continued to stand in his relaxed position. You, kill us. Do you really think? The Rhino started but was interrupted when all three of the Iowa Anbu simply fell to the ground with their heads sliding off. Itachi was in awe. It was like in a half of a blink of an eye the three Iowa Anbu that were with him died. How can someone move that quickly? It was simply impossible. The only ones capable of moving that fast was the Yondomi and Naruto, both of which are dead. So, how can this man move this fast that even the legendary Sharingan can't keep up with it? Hello, Itachi, the white-cloaked man said, interrupting Itachi from his musings. Who are and how do you know my name with my mask on? Itachi asked as he slipped off his mask and sealed it away. The white-cloaked man sighed and shook his head. You're getting rusty, sensei, the white-cloaked man said in his static, emotionless voice. Itachi's eyes widened. There was only one person to have ever called him sensei and that was. Take off your headgear, Itachi demanded. The white-cloaked man complied and took off his hat. Underneath the hat was a gas mask that made it impossible to see his face. The man slowly pulled off his gas mask, so slow that it hurt Itachi in the heart. Once the mask was off, Itachi couldn't believe what was happening. There, in front of him was the man that united the world through pain and suffering. Naruto sealed his mask and hat away in his sleeves and looked at Itachi with his normal golden Sharingan activated. Naruto did not pull up his pure white scarf. But, what, how, Itachi stammered out. Naruto simply stared at stuttering form of his old-time friend. Itachi stopped his stuttering and simply looked into Naruto's eyes. Itachi began to walk towards Naruto slowly. Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion. What was he doing? Itachi broke out into a run and smashed Naruto into the ground with one of the largest hugs that anybody would have known. Then Naruto saw Itachi do something he would have never thought he would see him do. Itachi began to cry. Itachi cried into Naruto pure white scarf and was beginning to make it very wet but Naruto never cared. He simply hugged his friend back. Itachi's crying finally subsided and Itachi looked deep into Naruto's. I thought you were dead, Itachi said. Naruto smiled a true smile. One that he hasn't had since the beginning of the Great War. So does everybody else, but I thought I would let at least you know what is going on, Naruto said as Itachi hugged Naruto again. Two men finally stood up and began to converse. What happened to you? Where did you go? Itachi began to ask. Hush hush. It all happened in the middle of the war when met a man that could help me, Naruto said as he told Itachi all that happened to him over the years. Most people would throw Naruto's story out the window, but Itachi had 100% trust in him so Itachi believed every word that came out of Naruto's mouth. On the other hand, Itachi told Naruto everything that has happened to the countries over the years that he was gone. So, these separatists are going to attack our planet. Why would the droids attack us? We did nothing wrong, Itachi asked. They want more area so they could make more factories and produce more droids for the war against the Republic, Naruto said. Ah, now I get it, but why are you here? Itachi asked. Now I can't let my favorite planet die out after what I did to bring peace, Naruto said with a grin. Itachi smiled at this. So Naruto still liked this planet after everything that has happened. I also take it you brought men along with you? Itachi asked. Bright as ever I see. Yes, I brought a little men, but not enough to take on an entire droid armada. These men might be good, but not good enough, Naruto said grimly. Then how do you plan on defending this planet? Itachi pushed. We are going to have to utilize what little ninja are left after the war and push them off. If we can successfully defend them once, then they won't try it again. Why? Because if they see us as a resistant planet, then holding it will be even more troublesome for them and won't waste the resources on trying to put the planet under check. I see. Well, it was nice to see you again, my blood brother, Naruto said with a smile as he held out his hand for Itachi to shake, but Itachi enveloped Naruto in a massive bear hug instead. When will I see you again and who can I tell about your survival? Itachi whispered into Naruto's ear. Soon, and anyone you deem worthy. I trust your judgment, Naruto said as he backed up from the hug. Goodbye, Itachi said as Naruto walked off into the forest. Goodbye, Naruto replied as he simply disappeared into the forest. XXXXX Itachi was making his way back to Konoha after his meeting with Naruto. Itachi's mind was in deep thought as he tried to figure out how Naruto could have survived a full blast from the Amaterasu. How could anybody, even of Naruto's status, survive a direct hit from the Amaterasu? It's simply impossible, is it? Itachi thought as he entered the village unseen. As Itachi jumped from rooftop to rooftop, he contemplated where he should tell his younger brother about Naruto. Revealing Naruto's secrets to his younger brother had both its bright and dark sides. It is true that Sasuke held Naruto in high regard for what he did and would likely keep it a secret, but on the other hand, Sasuke is the Hokage and he is forced to keep no secrets like the other Kages before him. So, finally coming to the conclusion that Itachi would keep Naruto's well-being a secret for now, he entered the office of his little brother. Mission report, Sasuke stated with authority in his voice. But there was another thing that Itachi had to tell his brother about that needed to be told. It was a matter of life or death. There was no traces of any UFO that crashed in the mountains in Iowa, but simply a meteor, Itachi said emotionlessly. Sasuke grinned victoriously. I knew it, just a simple meteor. There was no way it could have been anything different, Sasuke said in a relieved expression. Over the time when Itachi left to search for the crash site, people throughout Iowa, Kuso, and Taki were getting even more relied up about the bright light to the point where Anbu were called to the site to calm them all down. Even some people here in Leaf are starting to lose their minds. Most people began to start up rumors that aliens have been probing this planet ever since the Great War started and that the Sound's old leader made a deal with these aliens that if he ever lost the war that they would come soon afterwards and kill them all. But, this was only one rumor, but at least half of them have at least some correlation with the Great War. Wait, there is more, Itachi said, successfully breaking Sasuke out of his musings. And what else could there be? Sasuke asked curiously. I met up with one of my contacts in my spy network for information and a couple of Iowa Anbu tagged along. Needless to say, my contact killed the 3 Iowa Anbu that were with me, Itachi said as he looked straight into his little brother's eyes through his mask. That is not a problem, I'm sure you put this problem to rest then. Sasuke said with a grin. Itachi and himself are believed to be the strongest ninja in the world. Both equal in strength. They are believed that if both combined their power they could match Naruto's power. The story that everyone heard involving Naruto's defeat was that Sasuke and the rookies from Leaf managed to outwit Naruto in the end and win by a lucky break. The image that spiraled around the world that even though it was 11-on-1 that Naruto still overpowered them, but when Itachi showed up and was brought to his senses that the no 12-on-1 fight turned to the numbering side. And so people use this as an example that even though you are the most powerful person in the world that combined with your friends that you can prevail. No, this contact had too much valuable information to give up. The information that he traded though was very much worthwhile, Itachi said with a grin. And this information being what? Sasuke pressed. He says that there is going to be a war that has never been seen before on this planet. He says to start training more ninja and fast and to spread the word to the other commanders in the other countries, Itachi said gravely. Sasuke looked at Itachi and blinked. Sasuke then began to laugh, thinking that this was a joke of some sort. Oh Itachi, you always knew how to crack me up, Sasuke said between laughs with a big smile on his face while Itachi never faltered. I'm serious about this Hokage-sama, Itachi said in a serious voice. Sasuke immediately became serious when Itachi called him Hokage-sama. Itachi never said that if he wasn't deadly serious. Are you positive that this war is going to happen? Sasuke asked. Sasuke puts Itachi in one of spots that he can completely trust. The only other person to make it up to that level was right before Naruto was killed on the roof of the Otokage Tower. Yes, in about a month or two, Itachi said. Sasuke sighed. This has never happened before. He was going to have to ask the Godami how to manage a country while at war. I guess I could push a little harder at the passing of the rebuilding of our ninja forces. I'm sure there are still some ninja out there that would love to become a ninja of our village again, Sasuke thought out loud as he turned in his seat to look at the 6 faces carved into the mountain at the top of the village. His being the one right next to the 5th's. So tell me, why you are putting so much confidence in this one contact? You have never shown this much devotion before the end of the Great War, Sasuke asked while returning his gaze once again to his older brother, but only to find that said older brother was gone. Shit, oh well, it can't be helped, Sasuke said as he shook his head and returned to his paperwork. He's getting worse than Kakashi. XXXXX. Naruto is swiftly moving from tree limb to tree limb, making sure that he is not heard by anyone or anything in the dark of the night with the bright moon shining overhead. He was in Leaf territory, was going to be damned if was going to be spotted, but being out on the road was hard and he needed some sleep and food. Naruto changed course to what he knew was the city of Anzid, a medium-sized town near the border of the Leaf and Sound. I need some sleep and food. Charging blindly towards my destination is a bad decision, Naruto thought as he was almost at the town's borders when Naruto came to a halt. To the right of the path that he was on was the area where he observed the battle between the three Sennin fought across the open fields. That was truly a battle of wits, but Naruto couldn't help but feel sympathy for the snake Sennin. He was in my position while I was at war with the world. It was a 2-on-1 fight and Orochimaru was still fighting. I'll give him credit for that, at the very least, Naruto thought as he continued on his way into the town. The large tower at the center of the town was being rebuilt after the attack Orochimaru did on the enormous tower. Naruto was in the center of the town in an empty street with his pure white cloak on as well as his gas mask and straw hat. He was not taking any chances for him being seen by anyone at all. Naruto saw a ramen stand on the side of the street and shrugged. He hasn't had any ramen in years, why not give it a try? Naruto walked into the ramen stand and casually sat down in a seat next the wall and ordered a bowl of miso. While waiting for his food to arrive, Naruto took off his gas mask and sealed it away without anyone noticing the ceiling. Naruto was about to be hit with a wave of disappointment and bad luck because a few leaf ninja walked up the stand, sat in the center of the stand while talking away about their lives. Naruto glanced at the three ninja that sat down and his eyes widened for a brief second until turning back to their original size. Sitting in the stand with him was Shikamaru, Neji, and Kiba. Naruto cursed himself and was thinking about leaving when his food was placed in front of him. Naruto sighed. Why does he always get himself into these predicaments? Naruto began eating his food rather alertly and without taking off his hat. This made it seem that he was rude to everyone at the stand and the owner, but taking off his hat was not an option. Naruto was close to finishing his food when a voice he hadn't heard in a while made itself known to the white cloak wearing man in the corner. Hey, don't you think it is rude for wear that hat at the counter? Kiba asked. The other two ninja were looking at Naruto rather calmly, thinking he would take of the offending hat as well as the chef that was watching the scene as well. Naruto never looked at Kiba as he slurped the rest of his food down and stood up to leave. Hey, I'm talking to you, Kiba shouted angrily. Naruto continued to ignore him as he placed some money on the counter to pay for the food and for a hefty tip, which the chef gladly accepted. Naruto turned away from the stand and began to walk down the empty moonlit street. They must have had a mission in this town and decided to get a bite to eat. Damn it, this is just my luck. I can't talk or they will know who I am. I need to get somewhere and put my gas mask on so I can conceal my voice and face, Naruto thought as he could sense the three ninja fooling him. Naruto suddenly stopped, making the three ninja following stop as well. You know, wearing that cloak and hat of yours reminds many people of the organization that attacked the world, Kiba said with a grin. Naruto simply turned to face the three ninja. Why are you wearing a cloak and hat that makes you look so much like the Akatsuki or Yoinokuchi? Neji asked. Naruto said nothing in return. This could be one of the surviving members that lived after the defeat of Sound. Were you a member of Yoinokuchi or Akatsuki? Shikamaru asked. Naruto thought on that question. He could answer no and they would continue on with questions, or he could answer yes and make his presence known to the world and this would have its benefits. So, Naruto nodded, shocking the three joinin in front of him. Which one, Akatsuki or Yoinokuchi? Shikamaru asked a little too urgently. The reason behind the question is that it shows a sort of rank. If you are a missing ninja then you are low on the food chain, but still pretty strong. They're ranking between D to B. If you were once a part of Akatsuki before the war then you range from B to S class, and if you were a part of Yoinokuchi then you rank up into S to SS cage level, and in Naruto's case, SSS. Naruto steadily motioned that he was in the later of the organizations by showing them the peace sign, which meant the number 2. The three ninja were shocked. There were only a few Yoinokuchi members left in the world, most going into hiding because of the severe dislike towards them. The remaining members that lived after the bloodiest battle in the entire world were Zabuza, Haku, Kisame, Gaara and Itachi. Gaara SS rank being captured during his invasion on Suna has calmed down after hearing the defeat and death of Naruto and became the case cage of their country. Gaara was the only one who has been forgiven for his wrongdoings while in the Yoinokuchi. Zabuza S rank was killed while fighting alongside Haku while on the island of Wave. A group of hunter ninja from Kiri and Konoha followed them until they were in a secluded area and attacked while their guard was down. The battle that ensued was a bloody one. 13 hunter ninja were killed as well as Zabuza. Haku narrowly escaped. Haku S rank has stayed hidden and was last reported somewhere in Spring Country. Haku is thought to be training immensely to be stronger, so killing the missing ninja was going to be very tough. Kisame SS rank is also said to be hiding alongside Haku. For the same reasons Haku, Kisame wants to be able to defend himself against anything the ninja countries throw at him. They are supposed to be the best team on this earth other than Itachi and Sasuke Uchiha. The pair is close to being stronger than the two Uchihas. Itachi SS rank has resigned from the organization and became the Anbu captain of Konoha. Itachi is one of the strongest ninja in the world. Itachi is the last one of the Uchiha clan that can use the Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi has pronounced to the world that he would not hunt down any Akatsuki and Yoinokuchi members due to his old ties with the organizations. Sasuke, of course, knows the truth behind the Uchiha massacre. The remnants of Akatsuki are also scattered throughout the world. Madara SS rank and about 2 to 3 others are still allied with the remnants of the organization known as Yoinokuchi, minus Gaara. Both Yoinokuchi and Akatsuki members had a kill on sight order on their heads. But, at the same time, they also had a retreat on sight order if you had less than 3 members against an Akatsuki member and less than 5 against a Yoinokuchi member. So, thinking that this one might be Haku because the man doesn't have a huge sword on his back, they moved into fighting position, but there was a problem. Why was this Yoinokuchi wear a pure white cloak where the other members wore a white cloak with black clouds? Sure, this mon's cloak had a black interior like the others, but there was no black clouds. Where are the traditional black clouds? This can't be Haku because Haku would wear the cloak proudly. No, this be another member that must have missed in our reports, Shikamaru thought as he told the others about his theory. Are you sure? There are only like 4 of them left. This one has to be Haku. Kiba exclaimed. Neji nodded to what Shikamaru was saying. I see what you mean. This person could be someone that we never saw or fought. He could be one that was told to stay in the background until after the war, Neji suggested. Shikamaru was still looking at the motionless form of the Yoinokuchi member in front of him. We might want to retreat, Shikamaru said, shocking Kiba. What? We aren't going to let this one retreat. The Anbu are in the middle of a massive search for them. Killing this one would prove worthwhile. Kiba shouted a little too loudly. Kiba has a point there. If we let this man go, then we might not see him for another couple years and then he will just stronger than he is now, Neji added. Shikamaru sighed. But what about the retreat on site order that was given by Sasuke? Shikamaru asked. Puff, I have the strength of at least 2 men and you have the brain power of at least 3 while Neji has the eyes of 2 as well. Together we can beat him. Kiba exclaimed again a little loudly. Troublesome. Fine, let's fight, but if we lose, Shikamaru started but was interrupted when they saw the Yoinokuchi turn the corner down an alley. After him, Kiba shouted and ran after the cloaked man. Once they rounded the corner they saw him once more rounding another corner. The 3 jumped around the corner to see a dead end. The 3 looked everywhere until Neji saw the man standing on top of the building looking at them with an emotionless stare that was concealed by the darkness that his straw hat made. The man walked from view of the 3 ninja that were on the ground in the alley. He's on the roof, Neji said as the leaf ninja ran up the side of the wall and onto the roofs to see the man jumping from roof to roof, away from them. Damn, he's fast, Shikamaru thought as they chased the lone Yoinokuchi member. The leaf Jonin chased after the man until they were in the center of a large field on the outskirts of town. The cloaked man was facing the 3 ninja once they entered the field. Neji immediately turned on his dujutsu, noticed something weird. Where was his chakra? It simply wasn't there. After telling the others, Kiba was shocked while Shikamaru only nodded. Other Hyuga that fought against the Yoinokuchi were having the same problem. It seems that Naruto came up with a style that renders your dujutsu worthless until we can hit him at least once with a chakra-infused strike, Shikamaru explained. Neji only growled in annoyance. Hitting a Yoinokuchi member was going to be hard enough, but winning was going to be even harder. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to be fighting probably 3 of the strongest of the old rookies. Time for a test run, Naruto thought with a grin. The 3 ninjas stood across from lone Yoinokuchi member for what seemed like hours. Neither side willing to make the first move until a certain hothead attacked. Ah, I can't stand it. You are going down, Kiba shouted and charged. The 2 remaining leaf ninja sighed while Naruto grinned. As to be expected, Naruto thought as he stood in his relaxed position. Not even putting up a fighting stance will cost you your life. Kiba shouted as he suddenly disappeared. One of Naruto's eyebrows rose while he activated his normal Sharingan. So they gotten better, but by how much? Naruto thought as he ducked from a slash, courteous of Kiba. Naruto then backed up from a kick from his front. Naruto then saw Neji charging towards him and then also disappearing. Shikamaru was standing in the same place as before. Shikamaru is observing so they can formulate a plan against me by utilizing against my weakness. Tell me, Shikamaru, have you changed at all? Have became more powerful instead of your clan's techniques? Naruto thought as he dodged another chakra-piercing attack from Neji's attack. Suddenly, the 2 ninja jumped back to where Shikamaru was still standing. So, what's the plan? Kiba asked. Shikamaru continued to stare at the cloaked ninja who was once again in his relaxed position. Shikamaru sighed and shook his head in disappointment. This guy is unbelievable. I can't form a strategy if doesn't show ant style at all. What you just saw was him simply dodging each attack lazily, Shikamaru said. Kiba was shocked while Neji only nodded. They were of course only testing his abilities. That was not their true speed as Kiba could almost match Sasuke's speed. Time for plan B, Shikamaru said before performing his clan's technique. A shadow shot out towards the cloaked man. So, that is all you have done. All you have been doing is advancing your skills in reading other people's moves. I'm disappointed, Shikamaru, Naruto thought as he jumped to the side, but only for a hand to extend from the shadow and into the air. The shadow hand quickly wrapped around Naruto's leg and extended to his neck, successfully holding him there. Interesting new development, Shikamaru, but what else have you learned? Naruto thought as Kiba and Neji slowly walked toward Naruto. Why is it so easy for me to hold him? I should be straining to hold him down. He must up to something, Shikamaru thought as Kiba and Neji slowly made their way to the trapped man. Now, it's time to find out who this man really is, Kiba said as grabbed a hold of his hat yanked it off. The 3-leaf ninja gasped at what they saw. XXXXX. What is with Itachi? Normally he is stoic and emotionless, but lately has been a little more happy. That is nothing like Itachi. I'm going to find out what he is up to, Sasuke thought as Itachi entered his office. Even now Sasuke hates being left out of the inner circle. Yes, Itachi, you wanted to speak to me? Sasuke asked. I would like a mission, Hokage-sama, Itachi said while bowing. Sasuke sighed. You don't have to bow, Itachi. And why do you want a mission? I thought you were going to take a break for a little, Sasuke asked suspiciously. Itachi never flinched. I need to see a contact that is of great importance, Itachi said simply. Is it that same contact that told you of this war? Sasuke asked. Itachi nodded in the affirmative. What is so special about this man? Why to have so much trust in him? Or better yet, who is he? Sasuke asked. Itachi only shook his head. You know I can't do that. Revealing his name could be fatal, Itachi explained. Sasuke sighed. He wasn't going to get anything out of him. Fine, I'll give you the mission, but you are going to have to tell who this contact of yours is, Sasuke said. Itachi turned to leave, but before leaving Itachi had to say one last thing that will tear him apart until he figures it out. Well, I can't promise you that I will tell you, but if you're lucky then you might see him for yourself, Itachi said with a grin. Before Sasuke could answer, Itachi puffed into a cloud of smoke. A shadow clone. Damn it, Itachi, you knew I would say yes to the mission and already left, meaning I can't get someone to follow him, Sasuke thought. Sasuke sighed. I'm going to have to meet up with the guys and get a drink after work today. XXXXX. Wah, what is that? Neji stuttered out in pure shock. On the face of the man they were fighting was a weird kind of mask, never before seen to this world. All three leaf ninjas stood stock still as they looked into the empty eyes that the mask provided. You seem surprised. You have never seen a gas mask before? Naruto asked in the masked voice that the gas mask provided. The three-leaf ninja didn't answer as they were still surprised at what they found under the straw hat. Naruto suddenly pushed out of every point of his body, shattering the hand that was curled around his body. Naruto pressed his luck by swiping back his hat and putting back upon his head. They must not have noticed my hair because of the tinting color the moon was giving off along with the surprise of the mask that they saw, Naruto thought as the three ninjas seemed to snap out of their musings and took the offensive. But this time, Naruto was going to fight seriously. He is still the same weakling as before. We will capture him easily and then finish him off, Kiba with a smug grin as he disappeared faster than before, only reappear behind the gas mask wearing man. Kiba kicked Naruto forward towards Neji who sent a flurry of chakra-infused strikes at the white-cloaked man. The Yonkachi member blocked each and every attack that was sent his way before a familiar shadow was head towards him from his right. Naruto swiftly grabbed one of Neji's hands and pulled him in front of the impending shadow hand. The shadow quickly fused with Neji's and Neji went stock still. Naruto delivered a hard punch to Neji's gut then kneed him again in the face. Both Neji and Shikamaru crumpled over in pain. Neji passing out while Shikamaru held onto conscious by a sliver. You bastard. You won't be able to beat me though. I'm just as fast as Sasuke. Kiba shouted, but stopped when the cloaked man asked a question. Where is your dog? Naruto asked. Kiba stopped dead in his tracks. You don't know. I thought you knew everything that happens in your organization. Kiba voiced. I've been out of touch with them lately. So, where is Akamaru? Naruto asked emotionlessly. How do you know my dog's name? Kiba pressed. I know a lot of things, Naruto returned coldly. If I don't tell him he might figure it out later by the others in his group, but since he won't be able to get to them after I'm done with him, he might as well know because he is going to die here and now, Kiba thought. He died at the hands of the one known as Zabuza, Kiba said in a little sad voice. Naruto nodded. I take it you killed him. Well, at least took out as many good ninja before dying, Naruto said emotionlessly. This angered Kiba very much. I'll kill you. You won't even see me coming. Kiba shouted as he charged Naruto straight on at impressive speeds. Faster than a lot of people I've found, but Yoda moves faster than you, Naruto thought as Kiba was building a lot of momentum into this punch that was coming at him. Just before the punch connected with Naruto's face, Naruto moved his left arm to the right side of Kiba's left arm. Naruto then pushed Kiba's arm further than Naruto's left until the punch narrowly missed his head. This left the right flank completely open with Naruto's right unoccupied. Naruto then kicked Kiba's legs out from underneath him, making him fall counterclockwise. Naruto then grabbed the side of Kiba's head and rammed Kiba's head into the ground faster than a bullet. Naruto stood towering over Kiba's unconscious form with nothing other than emotionless eyes. I never even had to pull out my Mangekyo Sharingan or my Rinnegan. Such a shame, Naruto said as he turned to leave. Wait, a voice said weakly. Naruto stopped and turned to see Shikamaru looking at him intently. Naruto then began to walk towards the downed figure of Shikamaru. Who are you? Nobody knows who you are, Shikamaru asked as Naruto stopped in front of Shikamaru. I guess it's going to be one of those things that is going to be on the top of your head until you figure it out now, isn't it? Naruto said emotionlessly before pinching a nerve behind Shikamaru's neck, effectively rendering him unconscious. Naruto stood back up and began to walk towards the closest town that wasn't Anzad. Mission complete, Naruto thought with a grin as he disappeared into the grassland that was between him and the next town. XXXXX. This story is getting difficult to write. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, but I will continue forward until the end. Just don't kill me if they're little, because these chapters are really hard to write. Hope you all like it. Where the fuck is he? Cash asked out loud to the spec troopers that were building their base of operations on what seemed to be a cave in the side of the mountain. They were ordered to land on a group of islands out in the middle of the sea. The formation of the islands was simple. There was a large island with a steeping volcano in the center with dense jungle surrounding the towering volcano. 4 smaller islands surrounded the monstrous one in the middle, taking the form of an X with the islands taking the points while the volcano was in the center. They were currently fortifying all 5 of the islands so they could fend off any attacks that were centered at their new HQ. Naruto emphasized on anti-air than any other while still leaving some of his resources on the offshoot of the droids attacking by the sea. I see Naruto holds immense information on the terrain of this planet, Cash thought. What, are you worried that Naruto can't hold his own against whatever is on this planet? Asked one of the spec troopers. No, what I'm worried about was the crash. His small fighter couldn't hold against dense atmosphere of this planet, and did you see that bright light that illuminated the skies? That probably alerted all kinds of suspicion that we don't need, Cash explained. The spec trooper nodded in understanding while leaning against his sniper rifle that was planted on the ground. So, what have I missed? A familiar voice asked from behind them. The spec trooper was smiling while Cash turned to see Naruto walking out from the forest. Most of the spec take off their gas masks when they are out of sight of the enemy, but leave their helmets on for general purposes. Cash soon followed the spec's lead and smiled as well. Glad to see you back, General, Cash said. Nothing much, General. Just setting up the defenses for anything that comes at us, the spec sniper answered as he looked out over the building area. Naruto nodded. How did you get here? We're in the middle of the sea. Cash asked. Sorry, that's my little secret, Naruto said as he took off his hat and gas mask and sealed them away. Damn it, what is with you and keeping secrets? Cash started, but stopped when Naruto shook his head and walked away. Maybe you shouldn't ask about those secrets. You might get on his good side then, the spec sniper suggested. And what do you know? Cash growled out. The sniper shrugged. I see why Naruto avoids you outside of his training, the sniper said and walked off. Cash was shocked. Nobody has ever said that to her before. Maybe I should be less of a hothead, Cash thought and walked towards some spec troops that seemed like they could use an extra hand. XXXXX. So what's the plan, General? A spec trooper asked while they sat around a table in a makeshift tent. First objective is to set up the HQ here. Second is to make a name for myself. Whether it be by fear and terror or by heroic stature. Either way, we are going to be known by everyone, Naruto said to the group of 5 that was seated around the table. What about the natives? Are they going to be ready for this attack? I don't know. I have spread word about an imminent attack by a strong foe and I'm sure that they will respond by a mass buildup of troops. Everyone knows that peace can't last forever, Naruto said. When will you be back? When you see the droid army on radar. Once then you will calculate where they will land and we will set up defenses around their landing zone. Take these scrolls and teach all of the men on how the natives move so we can work together with them, Naruto said while handing out scrolls. The 5 spec troopers' eyes widened. How do you expect us to keep up with these guys if they move this fast? Use the modifications in your helmets that help you detect speeder bikes. That should work. The 5 spec leaders stood up from their position and saluted. Each spec trooper was in position of one of the 5 islands. Holding these islands was imperative to the success of this mission. Good luck, men. I hope to see you soon, Naruto said as he turned around and left. As Naruto was walking down a path to the beach until there was a familiar figure blocking his path. What do you need, Cash? Naruto asked in confusion. I'm sorry for the way I acted when you first showed up. You don't need to tell me everything about yourself. I was just too over-curious, Cash stuttered out. Strange, she never acts like this, Naruto thought as he used his extreme speed to pop up in front of her. Don't worry, Cash-chan, you are the closest one to learning my secrets, Naruto said with a grin as his breath made Kashi's breath shiver. Over the years of doing missions for different people, Naruto was forced to learn the art of seduction and teasing as to get his objectives. Doing this on Cash was a first and Naruto was interested in the outcome. Oh, okay then. Sorry, Cash stammered out before running back to camp. Naruto watched her run back to camp with the massive blush on her face and, with Naruto's extreme sensitive sense of smell, could smell the lust coming off of her. Naruto grinned. Well, that was fun, Naruto said with an enormous grin on his face as he disappeared from view. Sorry, Cash, but I don't make any tight bonds. XXXXX. What do you mean there was an unknown member of Yoinokuchi this entire time? Madara shouted to Zetsu. Zetsu only nodded at what he has just told one of the last Sharingan users in the world. I witnessed a battle between 3 of the Rookie 9 and an unknown Yoinokuchi member, the light side said. It's true. We were doing what you asked and observing any battles that involved the rookies and witnessed an unknown member of the famed Yoinokuchi organization, the dark said. He was strong too, the lighter side said. How strong? We have been observing the movements of all the nations and from the information you have given us, the Rookie 9 is one of the strongest groups in the world. Madara shouted again. He was getting angry at this new Yoinokuchi member because before Akatsuki agreed to help Naruto's cause, both sides would give a list of each side's members. With this new revelation of an unknown member that was able to take out 3 of the Rookie 9 without any effort pushed Madara's limits in Naruto's loyalty towards his comrades. The man never used any jutsu or battle styles. He simply dodged the attacks lazily like they were nothing he hasn't seen before. He never talked until he had this weird mask on that masked his voice, the lighter side of Zetsu said while still recollecting his thoughts. Anything else? Madara asked. Yes, one of the most chilling things was that he knew I was there the entire time, the darker side of Zetsu said, a little fear in his voice. Nobody has ever sensed Zetsu before because that was what he specialized in. Madara quirked an eyebrow from underneath his mask. So let's put all this together. His fighting style is much like Itachi's when he was in the Akatsuki. A lazy stance until forced to use his actual style. Practically knowing all the enemy's attacks before they happen, and last but not least is that he sensed Zetsu. And what of this new mask that I hear about? Zetsu says that it masks his voice, so that is pretty straightforward. Hee, fun, Madara thought with a huge grin, scaring the others that were with him. So, what now? Zetsu asked. Continue on with your missions. Other matters to attend to, Madara said before disappearing from the cave that they were in. XXXXX. Dodge. A feminine voice shouted as 3 ice needles shot from one of the several ice mirrors that was scattered across the small clearing in Spring Country. A large man with sword that was wrapped up in cloth quickly jumped out of the way of the attack. Water style. Shark bite no jutsu. The larger man shouted while doing the correct hand signs for the impending jutsu. To slow. The feminine voice shouted from behind his white cloak with black clouds stitched across it as said man started seals of his own. Ice style. Sub-zero. The water jutsu was immediately frozen halfway to the ice jutsu welder before freezing up. Both sides not wanting to make the first move simply stood still while looking each other in the eye, before the ice burst into a magical display of frozen specks in the air. Suddenly the larger man burst into ice as well. Where did he? The smaller thought before there was a sword across his neck. Nice try, Haku, but you still can't beat me, the larger man said with a grin on his face. Yeah, I guess so. Maybe next time I'll get you, Kisame. Haku returned as the ice specks continued to fall. Suddenly, Haku formed an ice spike in his hands and threw it at the observing white-cloaked man. The new addition to the clearing caught the ice spike just before it struck his face. Who are you, and what do you want with us? Haku asked with malice in his voice. The man never talked as he casually took off his hat to reveal his blonde hair. I'll let you guess, Naruto said with a grin, but the two were very on edge. Many have tried to impersonate him, so cut the act and take off that genjutsu, Kisame said with anger in his voice. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Really? Well, you don't have to believe me, but I warn you, your decision may bring more surprises than you hope, Naruto said emotionlessly as Haku formed two ice swords and Kisame unraveling his as well. The two disappeared from view to only reappear behind him. They are faster than the three rookies, but are still no match for me, Naruto thought as he ducked under a slash from Kisami's chakra-absorbing sword, but only to end up pushing one of Haku's ice swords out of the way by pushing at Haku's wrist. Haku started to stumble backwards from the aggressive push. Naruto seized the opportunity and dashed at the stumbling man. Naruto sent a punch towards Haku, but missed when Haku disappeared into an ice mirror. Kisame quickly swung his enormous sword in a vertical motion in hopes to crush Naruto into the ground, but was again dodged when Naruto jumped to the side. Kisame and Naruto simply stared into each other's eyes for what seemed for the longest time. Kisame was suddenly confused as Naruto burst into black flames. So, you do not believe me? Do you not believe me when I say I am your fallen comrade? I'm shocked. You were with me when we fought in Konoha. You were there to the bitter end when I died, atop the Otokage Tower. You were one of my closest allies and here I stand, fighting my very own people. What has become of this? Naruto said as his voice seemed to come from every angle. You aren't Naruto. Naruto died while fight for the Sound Capital. It is impossible for you to live through all the hurt went through. Kisame yelled as he readied his attack. A laugh engulfed the battlefield. If you only knew, Naruto said in return, leaving a very confused Kisame to prepare for the onslaught. Black fire started to erupt on the bottom of his feet, then another on his right shoulder. What is this? Kai, Kisame said while performing the necessary seal, but nothing happened. Naruto seemed to have appeared in front of him while Kisame was busy with the black flame. Do you not believe me? You know what this is. Believe Kisame, believe, Naruto shouted before Kisami's mind to have rushed back into reality. Kisami's eyes fixed themselves to see Haku standing next to him with a hand on his shoulder and the white-cloaked man standing exactly where he was standing before when they were staring at each other. Naruto's eyes were still as emotionless as before. It seemed this imposter got you into a pretty powerful genjutsu if you weren't able to break out without help, Haku said with a grin. Kisame seemed out of it as he stood up and rubbed his head. What happened? Kisame asked as he continued to rub his head. You two didn't do anything. That's when I figured out you were in a genjutsu because you starting to sweat from just standing there. What happened? Haku asked. Kisame only shook his head. I'll tell you later, Kisame said as he got into battle position. Haku nodded and again drew his two swords. Are they starting to get serious now? I was worried that Kisame was going to go down from one genjutsu. Good thing he has a teammate or this would have been fast, Naruto thought as he sensed two chakra signatures coming towards their position. About time they showed up. All right, let's do it. Kisame shouted as he charged Naruto straight on. One of Naruto's eyebrows went up. What are they up to? Naruto thought as he continued to dodge Kisami's attacks and was careful to stay out of range of chakra-absorbing sword. This continued to go on until the unexpected happened. Naruto was tripped into one of Haku's ice mirrors. Naruto fell backwards into the mirror to fall into a large room that was very simple. A large box with silver sidings. Up top was the hole that Naruto fell through. Said hole was beginning to close up. Naruto watched as the hole began to close up and trap him in this room. So, let's see if you like it when people play with you. Haku said as ice mirrors began to form around Naruto in the shape of a dome. A figure of Haku was stitched into every one of the mirrors. Special jutsu. Demonic ice mirrors. Haku shouted as he started to throw ice needles from all areas of his mirrors. The intensity of the needles has risen from the last time I've seen you do this technique, Haku, but it is still useless, Naruto thought as, behind Naruto's Mangekyo Sharingan, sprung the famed Rinnegan. The needles smashed into the invisible shield that covered Naruto's entire body. Haku was shocked. How? Nobody can block my attack. Or do the same technique as Naruto-sama. What trickery is this? What have you done? Haku shouted, getting angry at how this imposter was pulling out such a good job at how he was impersonating Naruto. I don't have time for this. I came here to give you two another chance, but this is just getting annoying, Naruto said emotionlessly as the silver world around him began to break apart. Haku suddenly appeared behind Naruto with his two ice swords poised to strike at Naruto's neck. Die, imposter! Haku shouted in blind anger, but in the blink of an eye two beams of light, one black the other white, shot out of two metal handles and sliced Haku's ice blades in half, making shining ice specks fly into air, glittering the air in the clearing. Haku's eye were wide as well as Kisami's at this new invention, but soon as they came they disappeared back into the white cloak of the imposter. What was? Haku started, but was interrupted when a foot connected with his face making him skid across the ground until coming to a halt on the other side of the clearing. Kisame was behind the cloaked man in an instant, sending a jab towards the mon's back. Naruto never moved, but instead prompted to look over his shoulder and into Kisami's eyes. Just as the jab was about to make contact, two swords was smashed down upon the jab in the form of a V. Thus, pinning the chakra-absorbing sword to the ground. The man bearing the tan cloak swirled around and smashed the back of his hand into Kisami's chest, sending tumbling backwards. Nice to see you two again in so long, Naruto said emotionlessly. The two figures both wore cloaks, but with different fashions. One wore the Akatsuki cloak and covered his face with a mask with an orange swirl and a single eye hole, while the other was different. The one with the tan cloak had a hood on the back and the length only went down to his knees while the other went down to his ankles. The tan cloak was much like a poncho of some sort, but made out of material of a heavy jacket. The tan cloaked man was wearing a leaf-issued Anbu mask. It's nice to see you as well, the Anbu masked man said while taking off his mask to reveal Itachi. I second that notion, Naruto-kun, the Akatsuki member said while taking off his mask as well to reveal Madara. I knew you would figure it out, Madara. So, what kinds of trouble have been cooking up? Naruto asked as he slung an arm around Madara's neck. Naruto was returning to his normal, carefree side that only the two elder Uchihas would be able to see. Madara returned the motion. Toby has been a good boy. Madara said with a grin. How was your out-of-world experience? It was weird, but at the same time fruitful. There is a lot out there that you guys have no idea about, Naruto replied, while Itachi was confused. Wait, how did Madara know about you leaving the planet? Itachi asked. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. Madara here is the only one who knew about me living after the death on rooftop of the tower, Naruto said with a smile. Itachi was still confused. Why was he the only one in on this? Itachi asked a little hurt. Naruto sighed. Because if I would have told you then you wouldn't have along so well with your brother. Sorry for that, Naruto said. Itachi only shook his head. It's no problem. I'm just glad you told me, Itachi said with a smile. So, what are you doing back here? I thought you were never coming back. Madara asked. That was true, but it seems that something is going on that we need to prepare for, Naruto said as he told Madara about the current position that their planet was in as they made a fire and sat around the small makeshift fire. I see. That is a problem, Madara said grimly. Naruto nodded. What is your plan? What are going to do until then? Itachi asked. I'm going to have to become famous, whether it be by fear or honor. I need to make a name for myself so when the time comes when the droids attack, a powerful ninja will fight against the oppressive separatist, Naruto said. Good plan. If it helps, you may tell them that the Akatsuki has your back the entire way, Madara said with a grin. Naruto nodded. I'll keep that in mind, but I think I have a plan on how to get my name out there, Naruto said. And how is that? Itachi asked. Tell them that Naruto Uzumaki is back, Naruto said with a grin. What? Itachi shouted. Not a bad plan. It would sure to spread quickly. People of this planet will believe anything, Madara said. That's what I was thinking, Naruto said. This might be a problem, Itachi said. And why is it a problem? Naruto asked. You know that Sasuke will want a rematch with you and if you lose then your reputation will be ruined, Itachi said. I know, but I'm going to have win. Your brother has grown strong over the years, correct? Naruto asked. Yes. He rivals your power when you died, Itachi said. He has grown powerful, but so have I, Naruto said with a grin. Suddenly there was an ice needle across his neck. Good morning, princess. Glad to see that you're up, Madara said emotionlessly. Madara's mask was on before the two sleeping ninja could see his face. Now Haku, do you think that is wise of you to threaten a group of ninja that all have the advanced stages of the Sharingan? Naruto said. Haku sighed as the needle melted from his hand. Haku sat down next to Naruto while Kisame sat next to Itachi. I see that you finally believe me then. That's good, I was about to give up on you guys, Naruto said emotionlessly. I believed you when you blocked all my needles and broke out of my genjutsu. I just refused to believe that you were alive, Halu said sadly as tears began to fall down his face as his body was yearning to do one thing. Go ahead, Naruto said with a smile. Haku tackled Naruto off the log they were sitting on and onto the ground. Haku began to cry into Naruto's pure white scarf that has been below his face this entire time. I thought you were dead. Haku sobbed out as tear continued to drench Naruto's scarf. Naruto simply hugged Haku back as he continued to cry. Itachi only smiled at the scene in front of them. He did the same thing when he first saw Naruto. Naruto and Haku obviously formed a very close relationship that he wasn't aware about. Shish, it's okay. I'm here, Naruto said as he patted Haku on the back to calm him down. Eventually Haku calmed down and the two were sitting on the log again, but this time Haku was sitting closer to Naruto, as to not wanting him to leave their presence again. So, whatever your plans are Naruto-sama, we will be happy to help, Kisame said with a grin. Good because our next mission will involve both the Yonkachi and the Akatsuki, Naruto said while looking directly into Madara's eyes. Both had a large grin on their faces that signaled something big was about to happen to this world. XXXXAHH, Itachi. How did your mission go? Sasuke asked as Itachi entered the room via window. Not so well. It seems my contact has obtained information that you need to hear, Itachi said as he took off his mask. Really? And what might that be? Sasuke asked. The Yonkachi have begun to move. We don't know what they are after, but they are on the move again. Akatsuki included, Itachi said emotionlessly. What, now, what could they be after? Sasuke asked out loud. Itachi shrugged. I have no idea. Even my contact doesn't know, but Akatsuki and Yonkachi seems to be working together, Itachi said with a sigh. Sasuke began to get angry. Okay, that is enough. Who is this contact of yours? You seem to have more trust in him than even me. Who the hell is he? Sasuke demanded. You know I can't tell you that. If I give, Itachi started, but was cut off by Sasuke. Away his identity and led him into trouble blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Who is this mystery man of yours? Sasuke flinched but ended in a demand. Sasuke hated being left out of anything and he damn well won't be left out of this. You'll meet him soon enough little brother. And when you do, it won't be pleasant, Itachi said with a grin as he tapped his little brother on the forehead and puffed away in smoke. Why does he always have to be so sneaky? I guess time will only tell who this man is, Sasuke thought as he returned to the task at hand. Damn it, I hate paperwork. XXXXX. Why to have this job? A certain Chunin asked another unfortunate ninja sitting next to him. I don't know. How about you ask those Anbu over there? They're stuck here as well. The other Chunin said as he pointed towards 3 Anbu that were standing on the other side of the gate. Who the fuck are you pointing at? One of the Anbu shouted from across the gate. Why the hell are you guys here? The second Chunin shouted back. What are your heads made of? Bird shit. 1. The Yoinkachi and Akatsuki are on the move again. 2nd, the Tsuchikage is having a meeting with the Hokage at the moment. The Anbu shouted back. Oh yeah, I forgot about that, the second Chunin said to the other. The first Chunin just shook his head. You guys are the guards of the gate. You are supposed to know all this. The Anbu shouted. Yeah well, sometimes I forget. The Chunin shouted. You are just fucking stupid. The Anbu shouted. The Chunin jumped to the middle of the road. How about you shove that cock further up your ass and then you might make more sense. The Chunin shouted. The Anbu was in his face in a second. You want to go bird shit? The Anbu shouted in his face. Guys, the first Chunin said, a little frightened. The other Anbu also saw what the Chunin saw. Bring it cock face. The Chunin shouted back. Guys, the first Chunin said a little louder. Let's see what you got. The Anbu shouted. Will you both just shut the fuck up and look, WHO is at our front door. One of the Anbu said with his sword already out and ready for battle. And who could it possibly? The Anbu said as he turned and saw who it was. He stopped his sentence midway and also got ready for battle in an instant, drawing both of his blades. The 2 Chunin were also ready, but they were a little scared. In front of them was a member of the famed organizations Yoinkachi and Akatsuki. Both sides sporting their traditional cloaks and matching straw hats covering their identity. Well, that was a show, wasn't it? The Akatsuki member said. Indeed. Do all Konoha ninja act like this? The Yoinkachi member said in a masked tone. Either way, their voices were angering the ninja at the front gate. Don't underestimate us, vermin. We could take you both down easily. The cocky Anbu said. The other 2 Anbu both looked at him through their masks like he was crazy. Well, before you attack us, how about you 2 Chunin run along and get your Hokage for us? We wish to talk to him, the Akatsuki member while he waved his hand like he was scooting off a little kid. Hey, we aren't just some kids that you can push around. Isn't that right? The Chunin that was about to fight said to his other Chunin, but stopped mid-sentence when he saw that his friend was gone. The Chunin sighed. Pussy, the Chunin muttered. We are going to take you down. The cocky Anbu shouted as he charged 2 cloaked men. Both cloaked men waited for the attack in a lazy stance. Well, this should be a warm-up of sorts, the Akatsuki member said. Should be, the Yoinkachi member replied as the onslaught began. XXXXX. So it is settled. Our countries will enjoy another year of peace and tranquility. The Tsuchikage shouted as he rolled up the scroll and put it in a secure pocket. Of course. We are the best of allies now. Are we not, Yichi? Sasuke said with a smile. You know this better than I do, my faithful friend. Brothers till the end. Hey, how about we go out for a drink? The Tsuchikage said with a smile. The Tsuchikage was a large bulky man that closely resembled where he lived. Sasuke and the Tsuchikage have gotten to be close friends over the years and began to get to know each other. They are on the level of close friends as of now. Why not? It's not like there isn't, Sasuke started, but was cut off when a tired-out Chunin burst through the door. Do not realize that I am in a very important meeting, Sasuke said, back in cage mode. Itachi was in the corner of the room, watching the scene unfold. Sorry, but this important. There is a member from Akatsuki and Yoinkachi wanting a direct meeting with you at once. The Chunin sputtered out. This caught Sasuke and Yichi off guard. One from both organizations? Sasuke asked, still a little shocked. Yes, they want to meet at the gate, the Chunin explained. Sasuke and Yichi stood abruptly. You do not need to come, Yichi, Sasuke said. True, but I am a friend first and a cage second, Yichi said with a grin. They said no guards or they would flee. Sorry, Raven-sama, the Chunin said with a frown. He knew that it meant that the Hokage's Anbu guard would be unable to come to the meeting. I will not be in the presence of the area, Itachi said with a nod. Sasuke nodded soon after. Let's go, Sasuke said as he put on his hat. Yichi soon followed the motion and followed Sasuke to the gate. XXXXX. Sasuke and Yichi skidded to a halt when they saw the massacre that was at the main gate. Blood was all over the walls and the floor. 4 bodies hung from the top of the gate, 3 of them Anbu, leaving one the other Chunin. There is a word written in blood on each of their bodies that confused Sasuke and Yichi. In order the word said war, will, come, again. Standing in the exact place where they were it when the Chunin left was the 2 cloaked men. Both clean and motionless as ever. I take it you two did this? Sasuke asked, already knowing the answer. I see the Tsuchikage was here as well. That wasn't according to plan, the Akatsuki member said. What, can't take both of us on at once? Yichi said with a grin. The mission will continue. This is just a minor annoyance in our plan, if not help it in the long run, the Yoinkachi member said in that masked voice that sent shivers up his spine. What are here for? Sasuke demanded. Well, to put it simply, we are here to kill you, the Akatsuki member said as he pointed his finger at Sasuke. What? Why are you trying to kill me? Sasuke asked in anger. If we kill one of the strongest ninja in the world then it will scream to the world our organization is back and are ready for anything. But, since both the Hokage and the Tsuchikage are here then it will just boast our reputation, the Akatsuki member said with glee. And you think we are just going to lie down and take it? Yichi said as he pulled out his dual blades. Sasuke soon followed with his own dual blades. Of course not. What would be the fun in that? The Yoinkachi member said as he took off his hat soon mimicked by the Akatsuki member. Both of the cloaked men wore masks. The Akatsuki member wore a mask that only had one hole for the eye and had a design that had an orange and black swirl around the center. The Yoinkachi's mask was something truly weird. He had a mask that was pure white and with two tinted pieces of plastic for the eyes with what looked like a can for the mouth. Finally, the Akatsuki member had black hair while the Yoinkachi member had blonde. Could it be? No, that's just crazy, Sasuke thought as he noticed the color of the Yoinkachi's hair. What is that? Sasuke asked. Oh, nothing that you need to worry about, the Yoinkachi member said as the Akatsuki member pulled out a sword as well. So I take it we will start with a kenjutsu battle. So be it, the Yoinkachi member said as he pulled out something that everyone, including the Akatsuki member, was surprised of. Of course, the Akatsuki member didn't show it. What the fuck is that? Yichi shouted as he pointed towards the black beam of light that was being held in a reverse grip by the Yoinkachi member. Nothing to be concerned about, the Yoinkachi member said yet again. Okay, I'll take the Yoinkachi member while you fight the Akatsuki member, Sasuke whispered to Yichi. Roger that, but this is going to possibly be the hardest battle of our lives. You do know that, right? Yichi whispered back. Sasuke shook his head. No, nothing can replace my battle with Naruto way back when. But I do agree with you, this is going to be tough, Sasuke whispered back. But nothing two cages can't handle. Yichi shouted with a grin. These kids have to be retarded, the Akatsuki member whispered. Most likely, the Yoinkachi member replied as the Tsuchikage began ranting on about how great they were. Alright Sasuke, let's see if you figure out what that glowing thing is. Yichi shouted as he pumped his fist in the air. Moron, Sasuke mumbled. Let's go. Bring it on you Akatsuki bastard. Yichi shouted as he charged at the Akatsuki member with impressive speed. At least they were kind enough to tell us who they were fighting against, the Yoinkachi member said as Yichi and his comrade clashed swords. Let's see what you got, Sasuke said as he activated his Sharingan. You will see that by the end of this battle that you are going to be quite surprised, the Yoinkachi said from underneath his mask. XXXXX. So this is the planet that he ran off to, a man said as he looked out over a vast valley that was in the middle of the mountains. It really is beautiful, a familiar feminine voice said. Keep your mind set you two. We are here for a reason, another man said. Always the one to bring order Obi-Wan, the first man said. Oh shut it Anakin, at least your Padawan can see what we are here for, Obi-Wan replied. Snips doesn't have any idea why we are here either, Anakin said with a grin. Hey, Ahsoka shouted. Well let me explain it to you again. We are here so we can monitor his movements and see why he is even out here on this remote planet and if possible arrest him, Obi-Wan explained. Arrest him? Why would we do that? Ahsoka asked. He killed a Jedi, remember? Anakin said. Oh yeah, Ahsoka said a little saddened. Anyways, since this planet hasn't been touched by any other people because of its remote placement, Obi-Wan began. Then that means the natives have never seen someone like Ahsoka, Anakin finished. Precisely, Obi-Wan said. So what does that mean? Ahsoka asked. That means you are going to be guarding the ship while we search for our man, Anakin said bluntly. What? You can't be kidding me. Ahsoka retorted. Sorry Ahsoka, but we don't want to scare the natives now do we? Obi-Wan said calmly. Ahsoka crossed her arms. Fine, Ahsoka said, giving in. At least you park the ship in a concealed spot. Nobody will ever think to look up here, Obi-Wan said as he looked back down the hillside towards the dense forest. I'll take that as a compliment, Anakin said with a grin. Whatever, let's get down to that village over on the other side of this valley and see if they know anything, Obi-Wan said as the two Jedi walked down the steep hill towards the valley and towards the village on the other side. XXXXXAN. Sorry for the late updates guys, but I have been busy. I have recently had several family deaths and have been away. This is why I won't be able to write until the beginning of July. I'm truly sorry, but I won't be writing for a while. But the good news is that you get to read this chapter. I hope you all like it. XXXXX. So, most of the people on this planet are humans, Anakin said as the duo approached the gates of the village. So it seems, Obi-Wan replied. Halt, a man said with a brown and tan uniform and a metal headband. Two men ran up to the Jedi duo. Guards, Anakin whispered. Yep, seems we will have to talk them through this, Obi-Wan whispered back. What are your affiliations with the Rock Village? The same man asked. We just travelers and are in need of shelter for a few days, Obi-Wan said as he eyed four cloaked men with different animal masks that were sitting in the corner. Where do you come from? The man asked. From the sands just south of here, Anakin guessed. On their way in Anakin noticed deserts and noted it for future reference. What are you doing? Obi-Wan whispered. Just trust me, Anakin whispered back. Ah, so you're from Wind Country. Well we are close allies with them so you are welcome, the man said with a smile. Thank you, Obi-Wan said with a bow. Before we go we've got a couple of questions, Anakin said after he bowed. Questions? Like what type of questions? The Chunin replied. We have been out of contact for years with this part of the land so you must understand that we have no idea what has happened over the course of 10 years, Anakin said. Oh, well you missed something all right, the Chunin said with a sad look on his face. Really? What did we miss? Obi-Wan asked. Come, this will take a bit of explaining, the Chunin said as he motioned them over to the guard stand. Once they sat down the other Chunin remained standing. I'll go get us some drinks. Go on with the story, the second Chunin said and walked off. So, what happened to the land while we were away? Anakin asked. There was a war that rocked the very foundations of this world, the Chunin said. A war? How big? Obi-Wan asked. If they were going to find Naruto then they at least have to find out about his planet's background. Well it all started with the organization known as Akatsuki. They wore black cloaks that went from their ankles to their upper lips. They also sported a straw hat that shaded their identities, the Chunin said. That cloak sounds like Naruto's except his was white. Could it be coincidence? The two Jedi thought as they continued to listen the story. Akatsuki had 10 members that are all S-rank, missing ninjas are up, the Chunin said. What is S-rank? Remember we have out of touch with society for quite a while now, Obi-Wan said. Oh yes, sorry for that. There are 7 ranks amongst the shinobi that tells how strong you are. First is D rank, which consists Genin. Genin are the fresh out of the academy students. Second is C rank, which consists of Chunin like myself. Third is B rank, which consists of Chunin and Jonin. Fourth is A rank, which consists of Jonin and Anbu. Anbu being the special forces of sorts. Fifth is S rank, which consists the Kages, the Sanins, and the members of Akatsuki. Kages are leaders of the villages and the 3 Sanin are 3 of the most power ninja in the world. The Chunin finished as the second Chunin arrived with a gallon of water and 4 cups. What about the other 2? You said there was 7, Anakin asked as the second ninja began to fill the cups with water. The last 2 ranks are held by another group of people entirely, but we will get to that in due time. Anyways, Akatsuki began to search for the beings known as Jinchurikis, the Chunin said. What are Jinchurikis? Obi-Wan asked. They people that hold a biju inside of them. Or in other words, they are a prison cell for the demons. Let's continue. Akatsuki began searching for these Jinchurikis and sealed them up into their secret weapon. The weapon is still unclear, but it doesn't matter. The last Jinchuriki made it impossible for him to be sealed, so Akatsuki later gave up on their dream of controlling the world, but I digress. While the Akatsuki was still searching for the Jinchurikis, half of its members rebelled and started a war between Akatsuki and the newfound Yonkachi organizations that wore exactly the same clothing as Akatsuki except a different color scheme. Their cloaks were white with black clouds sketched across them, the Chunin said as he stopped and took a sip of water. What was this new organization's ambition? Anakin asked. They were the reason for this entire war. The second Chunin shouted. Calm down. I know you don't like them, but that is all in the past now. Yonkachi, after fighting the Akatsuki for a while, took control the village of Sound. Yonkachi had 8 members while Akatsuki had 6. After Yonkachi took control of the Sound village, they began to industrialize the country and build up their manpower that would be able to fight all 5 of the elemental nations at once, the Chunin said. I can see what happens next, Obi-Wan said. Right, Sound allied another Yonkachi-controlled nation known as the village hidden in the rain. Although not as strong, the more manpower the better. The 2 nations began to take the surrounding nations around them, and when once that was accomplished they attacked all 5 nations at once after they built a strong defensive line, the Chunin explained. I see. So I take it you won? Anakin asked. Yes, but the battles were tough because of a sound invention known as the kunai slinger. They would set these up in windows or hide underneath brush and start firing at us once we walked by. The battles mounted up mostly on their side, but since sound invaded everyone at once, their forces were spread thin and couldn't keep up with all 5 of us at once, the Chunin explained. Yep, we sure beat the shit out of them. The second Chunin exclaimed. Well, yes in a way, the Chunin said. What do you mean? Obi-Wan asked. At the end of the war, we tallied up the deaths of all who were involved in the war and came to a staggering conclusion. We, including the others that helped us, lost over 7.3 million men during the war while Rain lost 2.5 million and Sound lost 2.1 million. As you can see, they lost a total of 4.6 while we lost 2.7 million more than they did. The deadliest battle being the Battle of Sound's capital. Sound lost 0.5 million men while we lost 1.6 million, the Chunin said. The 2 Jedi were shocked that such a war went heard of from the Republic. Who was the one responsible for all this destruction? Anakin asked. The 2 Chunin blinked a couple of times. Well, before telling you I must explain a couple of things first. Many people have looked past the death and destruction and saw what Sound was truly trying to do, the Chunin said. What good could come from a war of that magnitude? Obi-Wan asked. There hasn't been any killing since the war. Everyone has been on happy terms with each other and now all the people are prospering. People are starting to believe that was the Yonkachi's plan all along, the Chunin said. Is that why you have Anbu guarding your front gate? Anakin asked. That is something different, the Chunin said. And that, something different, would be? Obi-Wan asked. Yonkachi and Akatsuki are on the move again with what little they could salvage from their organizations. They seem to be working together now, the Chunin said. Well, that's not good, Obi-Wan voiced. Indeed it's not, the Chunin agreed. You still haven't told us who started all this in the last 2 ranks where, Anakin stated. Yes, I was just getting to that. The next rank is SS rank, preserved by Yonkachi and the leader of the Akatsuki. The last rank is one that only one man has ever obtained. The rank is SSS and it is held by the leader of Yonkachi and, also known as Naruto Uzumaki, container of the 9th Biju, the Chunin said. At this, the 2 Jedi's eyes went wide. XXXXX. The Yonkachi member and the famed Uchiha Hokage stared each other down. Sasuke was currently trying to use genjutsu on the man, but nothing was working. Damn it, nothing is working. Sasuke thought until he remembered something in Shikamaru's report. Wait, didn't Naruto train this man himself? No wonder nothing works on him, this may be harder than expected. Suddenly, there was an explosion off to the left. Sasuke glanced over to the source of the explosion. It seems the Akatsuki member and Ichi were on equal grounds, but Sasuke knew that wasn't going to last long. He had to end this now before the Akatsuki member got the better of him. Sasuke turned back to his enemy, but to find the hilt of the glowing sword in his face. To slow, the Yonkachi member said. The hilt of his sword smashed into Sasuke's face, making him stumble back. Sasuke put a hand on the mark that was made on his forehead by the aggressive assault while glaring at the white-cloaked man. It seems something is on your mind. Tell me, what is it? The man asked. Sasuke only glared further. Were you trained by Naruto Uzumaki? If you are, then I will go seriously on you, Sasuke asked. Well, you could say that, the Yonkachi member said. I'll take that as a yes, Sasuke said when he appeared behind the cloaked man with the point of the sword on his back. Sasuke jabbed the sword through the cloaked man. The man puffed into smoke. A shadow clone, Sasuke thought, but soon stopped when the real Yonkachi member flew through the smoke, sending a slash towards Sasuke's neck. Sasuke pulled up his left sword to block, but to his surprise, the glowing beam went straight through his sword. Sasuke was barely able to dodge and roll away. Sasuke looked at his broken sword and then at the Yonkachi member who bent down and picked up the severed piece. You asshole. Those were made by some of the best Uchiha blacksmiths. Sasuke shouted. You should really learn to control your anger, the Yonkachi member said. What you should be thinking about is, how do I block against that blade of his, the Yonkachi member said. This made Sasuke even angrier, but Sasuke quickly got control of himself. He's right. I need to figure out how to defend that blade of his. Dodging won't be an option, so let's try pushing some chakra into the blade and say where that goes, Sasuke thought as his blade started to glow blue. Ah, I see. You are pushing chakra into your blade in hopes of stopping my blade. Good choice of action, but even that strategy comes with a price, the Yonkachi member said. And what exactly is that? Sasuke shouted. You never think through your plans, do you? Even if this works, the constant demand for chakra in your blade to keep up with mine will constantly shave off your chakra reserves until you are unable to keep up with mine. But it can't be helped, the Yonkachi member explained. Why can't it be helped? Sasuke continued to ask when he noticed the gathering crowd at the gate. Because that is the only way stop my blade from piercing through yours, the Yonkachi member said. Wait, you already knew your sword's weakness? Sasuke asked. Of course. Now, let's see how long you can last, the Yonkachi member asked before the two men clashed swords at blinding speeds. XXXXX. Fire style. Fire shot no jutsu. The Akatsuki member shouted as 5 fireballs were thrown at the Tsuchikage. Earth style. Rock wall no jutsu. Yichi shouted as another fire jutsu was sent his way. Just as the wall began to crumble, the Akatsuki member blurred around the corner and clashed swords with Tsuchikage, who blocked the sword with an X motion. Yichi quickly kicked away from the Akatsuki member, making him stumble back. Earth style. Earth crack no jutsu. Yichi shouted and slammed his fist into the ground, making a huge and long crack form towards. The Akatsuki member quickly jumped into the air as to dodge the move, exactly what Yichi wanted. Yichi quickly followed it up by throwing 7 kunai at the defenseless man and start running towards him as well. The Akatsuki member responded by throwing 7 kunai back, which deflected all but one. The last one went straight through it, slicing it in half. The offending kunai was barely dodged by Yichi, which stopped and looked at the hole that was made by the powered kunai. What the fuck was that? Yichi shouted as he turned and looked at the Akatsuki member in the eye. The man began to laugh. You are slow, you know that. The man shouted with a laugh as he disappeared when his body turned into a bunch of rats and scattered into the surrounding forest. XXXXX. Sasuke and the Yonkachi member stopped the attacks for a second so they could get a grip on what happened in their attacks. They have done this many times with no results. Sasuke was starting to get a little tired and had a few scratches and bruises from where he was hit with the hilt of his sword. The Yonkachi member seemed unfazed by the recent events until there was a tiny slit at the neck on the Yonkachi's cloak. Sasuke grinned at this while his red eyes burned victoriously. Well, this is interesting. You managed to put a scratch on my cloak. But let's see if you can multitask, the Yonkachi member said as he charged at Sasuke. Sasuke quickly got the hint and quickly glanced at Yichi, who was currently stumbling around while the Akatsuki was casually walking towards the blind cage. Sasuke leapt away from his position and towards Yichi. Fire style. Fire dragon no jutsu. Sasuke shouted while going through the hand signs and launching the dragon at the Yonkachi member who was where Sasuke was standing a few moments ago. The Yonkachi member only looked at the impending attack as it swallowed him up. Sasuke looked away from the smoke, thinking he killed the man, and kicked the Akatsuki member out of the way. The Akatsuki member quickly jumped away from the attack as Sasuke sent a surge of chakra through Yichi which cut off the genjutsu that was placed on him. Yichi quickly grabbed his head. Sorry about that, Yichi said. No worries, Sasuke said with a smile. Where is the Yonkachi member? Yichi asked as he looked at the smoke. Burn to A, Sasuke started, but was interrupted by a voice that came from the fire. Well, that was a bit hot, Sasuke. That's another jutsu to add to my collection, the voice said as the two cages looked at the smoke. The smoke quickly cleared as a surge of chakra blew it all away. The Yonkachi member was standing in the center of the charred ground unharmed with the ground underneath him unharmed as well. Who are you? What are you? Sasuke asked. Do you think it is time? The Yonkachi member asked. I do believe so, the Akatsuki member said. Before we do you believe that you and your brother are the last Uchihas left in the world? The Yonkachi member asked. Of course. The only other member of the Uchiha bloodline was Naruto. Sasuke shouted in anger. Then you are in for a surprise, the Yonkachi member said as the Akatsuki member took off his mask to reveal a red Sharingan. Sasuke was shocked. What? How? When? Sasuke stuttered. Sasuke, do you remember me? A voice echoed from the charred grounds. Sasuke went stock still. It can't be. He dies all those years ago, Sasuke thought as he turned and looked at the Yonkachi member who was taking off his mask. The crowd that was gathered at the gate stared at the Yonkachi member in anticipation. Naruto, Sasuke whispered as the Yonkachi member slid the mask off his face and seal it away. Standing in the center of the charred land was a blonde-haired man with his golden Sharingan on with the fire that was on the ground illuminating his eyes. Sasuke was emotionally in turmoil. All this time he thought that Itachi and himself were the last Uchihas left, and now a new Uchiha member revealed himself to the world, and to learn that Naruto was alive this entire time. The crowd near the gate went silent as they realized who this man was. You asshole. You were the one that destroyed half of my village. I'll kill you. Yichi shouted as he charged Naruto in blind fury. Naruto never moved as the cage charged him. Just as Yichi reached Naruto, Yichi sent a punch towards Naruto's head, which was easily blocked by Naruto. Naruto grabbed Yichi's fist and pulled Yichi close to him while grabbing his other wrist. Suddenly, Naruto appeared behind Yichi while the clone held tight onto his arms. Remind you of anything? Naruto whispered into Yichi's ear. Just before Yichi could respond, the clone exploded in an enormous explosion that slung Yichi into the side of the wall. Naruto seemed unfazed and unharmed from the blast as he neared Sasuke. Madara was soon walking behind Naruto as they stopped in front of Sasuke, who was too shocked to move. Naruto bent down and was right next to Sasuke's ear and whispered something that will rock this world to its core. The demon is back, Naruto whispered as Madara moved in front of Naruto and smashed his fist into Sasuke's face. XXXXX. Again, I hope you all like this chapter. XXXXX. Remember this place, a male sound ninja said as they continued their trek towards Leaf's capital. Yeah, we're getting close, the second female sound ninja said. So, why are meeting with the Hokage again? Didn't we already meet with them last month? The first ninja asked. Yes, but I received a message from the head of their Anbu Corps to hurry over immediately, so it must be urgent, the Otokage said as they continued to walk towards their destination. The three men continued to walk towards the famous gate until a huge blast of fire was seen further ahead. What was that? The second ninja shouted. Let's check it out, the Otokage said as they dashed towards the destination. Out of the now 7 cages that rule over the ninja villages, this is the ranking from first being the strongest and down. Hokage, Kase Cage, Otokage, Rain's Cage, couldn't find his name, Tsuchikage, Mizukage, and then finally the Reikage. The 3 sound ninja landed in the center of the road to see their old hero and an Akatsuki member standing over an unconscious Hokage and Tsuchikage. Sound and Rain held immense respect for both organizations and are often blamed for helping the 2 dwindling organizations. And Naruto-sama, the Otokage whispered out. There was a rather large group watching the scene, but all were unmoving because of the sheer shock of the events that happened in front of them. Naruto looked up from the unconscious cages and looked at the current Otokage. Naruto-sama, the female sound ninja shouted with glee. So their secret hero was alive. She has heard of the bravery and courage that Naruto presented from veterans of the Great War and was angry that she never had the chance to meet him. But here he is, in the flesh, with those legendary golden eyes that made him famous around the world. Naruto walked up to the current Otokage. Good to meet the leader of my old village, Naruto said in an emotionless voice while sticking out his hand. The Otokage shakily shook his hand in return. Nice to meet you, Naruto-sama, the Otokage said while taking off his hat. Shall we go and talk over some tea? Madara said with a grin. The 3 sound ninja nodded, but the Otokage lifted his hand. Before we go, the Otokage said while placing the hat on top of Naruto's head, welcome back, Leader-sama. Glad to be back, Naruto said before the 5 ninja disappeared from sight. XXXXX. The crowd that formed at the gate stood in awe, shock, and fear. Naruto's old friends were there as well and were of course just as shocked as the civilians around them. 1. Naruto, the evil leader of Sound during the Great War, was back and stronger than their Hokage. 2. There is a 4th Uchiha out there fighting with the Golden Demon. 3rd, Sound was once again under his control and had the loyalty of everyone that embodied the country. The Anbu were the first to break out of the stupor and quickly rushed to the Hokages and Tsuchikage's unconscious bodies. The rest of the Anbu and level-headed Jonin circled around the crowd because of obvious reasons. The crowd soon started to panic. Relation that another great war might soon show itself flared around the crowd as they began to scream in panic. Everybody quiet down, a raven-masked Anbu shouted from the top of the gate. Everyone ignored him as they tried to break out of the circle of ninja. Everybody shut the fuck up. Raven is trying to speak. A bear-masked Anbu shouted. Everyone immediately quieted down and looked at the pair standing on the roof. Everyone knew who was behind the raven mask and immediately calmed down. The people knew that Itachi was equal or stronger in strength than his younger brother, and with this peace of mind, calmed down. Thanks, Bear, Raven whispered. No problem, Bear replied. Bear was almost always with Raven because Bear knew that Raven never liked shouting, so Bear was his megaphone from time to time. Look everybody, this may be a dire situation, but everyone must look at the bright side of things, Raven said. And what is the bright side of all this? A villager shouted. That the Hokage and Tsuchikage are still alive and that now we have time to prepare for war if that is what Naruto came back for, Raven said. The villagers seemed to agree with Raven. Now that we have time to prepare for an epic scale war like the last one, they will never be able to reach their capital. Especially now that everyone has the technology to make the feared kunai slingers. Now everybody, get to work. Let's be ready for this war. Bear shouted. The crowd cheered as they all went to work to up incoming war. Do you think they will be ready for the separatist invasion? Bear whispered. Only time will tell, Itachi whispered back as they disappeared from their post. XXXXX. This is so boring, Ahsoka said as she looked out over the beautiful valley that presented itself to her in the moonlit sky. Ahsoka just got word from Anakin that the 2 were returning to the ship so they could travel to Fire Country. The trek should take about 20 minutes. I wish I could go with my masters, it gets so boring just sitting here all day, Ahsoka said to herself while leaning on the side of the ship. Suddenly, she heard the sound of boots hitting the ground. Shit, who could be all the way out here? Ahsoka thought as she climbed up cliff as to check who was there. Upon looking over the edge of the cliff, her eyes widened in surprise. Specs. What the fuck are they doing on this planet? Ahsoka thought as a rock that she was standing on gave out and she tumbled backwards. What was that? One of the 3 spec troopers that were there said. The other 2 heard it as well and turned towards the area that the sound came from. You 2 go check it out. You, keep clearing the area. I don't want on peace to go unseen, a man with a white cloak and a straw hat ordered. Yes, Commander, the spec troopers said as 2 of the 3 specs walked up the side of the cliff. Once on top of the cliff, the 2 spec troopers looked down the other side, only to see nothing but a small transport ship. Where did that come from? One of the spec troopers asked. No idea. Let's check it out, the second spec trooper whispered as they turned on their lights that is built into the end of their rifles and slowly walked down the side of the cliff, looking behind all the rocks that could be hiding something. Ahsoka was currently hiding behind one of the said rocks that the spec troopers were checking. What do I do? What do I do? These guys are some of the best soldiers in the galaxy. But, I'm a Padawan. I can take these guys. Ahsoka thought as a beam of light shook her from her thoughts. Over here, a spec trooper shouted as the beam of light rested on her. Ahsoka quickly pulled her lightsaber out and charged the spec. The spec trooper that spotted her fired off 5 rounds before she reached him. All rounds dodged or blocked. Ahsoka slashed at the spec in hopes of taking his head off. The spec ducked under the swipe and punched Ahsoka in the stomach. Ahsoka stumbled backwards as the spec trooper pulled his rifle up. Ahsoka pulled the spec's pistol from its holster and aimed back at the spec trooper. Stalemate, Ahsoka said with a grin, but it quickly vanished when a cold piece of metal touched the back of her neck. I suggest dropping your weapons, Jedi, the other spec trooper that was with the first said coldly. Ahsoka growled, how could I have forgot about the other one? Damn it, now what? Ahsoka thought of the options of what she could do. Ahsoka finally sighed and dropped the 2 weapons that she held. The first spec trooper walked up with the weapon still pointed towards her and grabbed the pistol and the lightsaber and pocketed them while placing his pistol back into its holster. What do we do with her? The second spec asked. I guess we could show her to the commander. He'll know what to do, the first spec replied. The spec trooper that was standing behind Ahsoka put a pair of cuffs on her and stood her up. Before the 3 could though, 2 blue beams of light showed them in the dark. I suggest you put those weapons on the ground or you will have to go up against us, Anakin said coldly. Spec troopers looked at them like they were crazy and also like they knew something that they didn't. Sorry Anakin, can't do that, the first spec trooper said from underneath his gas mask. Oh, and why is that? Obi-Wan asked. Because, I'm still here, a man with a white cloak with black clouds and straw hat said. The 3 Jedi all looked up at the man in surprise. Naruto, Ahsoka whispered. Nope, but I do work for him, the man said. Then who are you? Obi-Wan asked. The man laughed and slowly pulled off his hat and mask to reveal a feminine-looking man. My name is Haku. I take it your names are Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, correct? Haku asked. How do you know our names? Anakin asked. Like I said, I work for Naruto-sama and he tells me everything that may happen during a mission, Haku said. So, he expected us to follow him? Anakin asked. Yup, Haku said with a smile. But, since I'm not here for a fight, release the girl. The spec troopers quickly obliged and released Ahsoka. Ahsoka quickly ran to the 2 armed Jedi. The spec trooper that was holding her lightsaber pulled out the weapon and held it out to her. Ahsoka used the force to pull the lightsaber to her. The 3 Jedi put away their weapons as well as the spec troopers. So tell me, why are the Jedi here on this planet? Haku asked. None of your business. Ahsoka shouted. My apologies for my Padawan's rash actions. We are here to find the one that you work for, Anakin said calmly. Naruto-sama, what do you want with him? Haku pressed. We only wish to talk with him, Anakin replied. Is that so? Well, let me ask him then, Haku said and put his right hand up to his ear. Naruto-sama, are you there? Haku asked into the microphone that was inside his ear. Haku and the rest of Yoinkachi and Akatsuki learned very quickly how these new interments could be of use. Yes Haku, I'm here. What do you need? Naruto replied. There are 3 Jedi here that are looking for you. Really now, who are they? Their names are Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka. Expected. I take it they want to talk. Correct. Whatever, let them come. How are things coming at the crash site? I have a soldier on it right now. He should be done soon. Good. I'll see you and the 3 Jedi when you get back. Wait, how did your fight go with Sasuke? Better than expected. It seems the Tsuchikage was there as well. I take it you and Toby had fun. Very much so. Everything went according to plan. Roger that. See you when you get then. Haku said and then cut the communication. Now the 3 Jedi were curious. They knew all the things that has happened to this planet so they knew who Sasuke was. Did you just say that there was a fight between Sasuke and Naruto? Obi-Wan asked. Possibly. Follow me and you might know, Haku said as the 3rd spec trooper walked up to Haku with what seemed to be a metal detector. All finished Commander, the 3rd spec said. Great job. Now let's head back to base, Haku said as they started back to their ship. Follow us Jedi, the 1st spec said as he jumped into the pilot's seat of the transport that was landed near the crash site. I think I can keep up, Anakin said with a grin as the 3 Jedi walked into their own transport. XXXXX. Do you think this could be a trick? A big scam? Ahsoka asked worried. Look, for the 12th time. Naruto isn't that heartless, Anakin said. But, Ahsoka started. Ahsoka please. Naruto isn't the type to just shoot us down for no apparent reason. He's a mercenary and would gain nothing from killing us. Anakin shouted. Anakin speaks the truth Ahsoka. Naruto isn't the type to kill without gain, Obi-Wan added. Ahsoka sighed. I guess, Ahsoka said still a little worried. Haku to Jedi. Can you copy? Haku said over the speaker in the ship. Read you loud and clear, Anakin replied. We will be landing soon. You will land directly in front of me, Haku said. Copy that. Will do, Anakin replied. Upon seeing the 5 islands, they noticed that the islands were heavily fortified with all types of weapons. Haku's ship landed in a clearing in the center islands. The Jedi soon followed. All right guys. This could be dangerous. We going to be meeting Naruto on his own turf, so watch out, Obi-Wan said. The other Jedi nodded as they walked out of the ship. The area around them was thick with forest. It was extremely hot out as well. Haku was waiting for them at the exit point of the ship. Heat. I thought they would choose an area with more of a colder climate. Anakin said out loud. This is the summertime, Anakin. It's only like this for 2 months out of the year, Haku said as the 3 spec troopers from earlier were behind them with their weapons out. Please, follow me, Haku said politely and turned and started down a trail. Obi-Wan was currently observing the terrain of the island. Off the trail there seems that it is a thick swampy area, covered in dangerous wildlife. Leaving the only walkable areas these trails, which, if the patrols that they have passed are any correlation, are heavily guarded. Once they walked about a mile they entered an area that was heavily populated with other spec troopers along with a huge door with firing holes built in the side of the mountain. Wow, this place is huge, Ahsoka said. Suddenly, Haku stopped in front of the large gate. It seems that Naruto is ready to see you now, Haku said with a smile. Where is he? Anakin asked. Turn around, Haku said. The 3 Jedi turned to see the one that they have been looking for. Naruto was wearing his normal cloak with the black clouds and all. Naruto was not wearing his hat or mask though. Naruto had his normal Sharingan on as well. I heard you wanted to talk, Naruto said. Yes, we need to talk and get a few things straight, Anakin replied. Fine, but you must go through protocol in order to get into the base to talk, Naruto said emotionlessly. And that would be? Obi-Wan asked. Turn around again, Naruto said. The 3 Jedi turned only to see the end of a rifle go into their faces. XXXXX. Sorry for the late updates, but I have been really busy. If you would have read the author's notes last chapter you would know. I hope you all like it because it was hard for me to write at the time. Sorry for the long wait and the short chapter, but it needed to be done. That, and I have very busy as of late, but at least I got this one out right. Well, hope you all like it. XXXXX. What happened? Ahsoka asked out loud while rubbing her head from her prone position on the floor. Ahsoka glanced around the room that she was in to notice Obi-Wan and Anakin leaning against the walls of the prison room that they were in. So the sleeping beauty finally decided to wake up. Anakin said. About time, Obi-Wan said with a grin. Why are we in a prison cell? Ahsoka asked as she ignored the insults as she stood up. Because we wanted to talk, Obi-Wan said. But we were just here to talk. Ahsoka shouted. I guess it's their protocol to knock their guests out before we can talk, Anakin said calmly. Why would they do that? Ahsoka asked. So if we tried anything we wouldn't know the way out of the base, Obi-Wan explained. But did they have to be so forceful about it? Ahsoka complained. Oh shut it. We are dealing with people where their motto is, I don't give a fucking shit about you unless I'm told to. So I doubt they care whether or not they hurt you from a hit from the Ender rifle, Anakin said as the door to their cells were open to reveal a spec trooper. Ah, so the Padawan is finally awake. Alright guys, let's go see the general, the spec trooper said with his rifle and pistol were all holstered. It seems that the spec trooper escorting them to Naruto seemed no ill intent from the 3 Jedi. As the 3 Jedi walked out of the prison cell 2 more spec troopers walked in behind them with their weapons holstered as well. The group walked down the hall until they appeared at a rather large group of doors. When the doors slid open, they then realized that this was the briefing room that consisted of a large circular table with a holopad in the center and several chairs surrounding it, and on the other end of the room sat Naruto without wearing his hat or mask. Now that the 3 realized it, they have never seen Naruto without his cloak on. The 3 spec troopers closed the door behind the 3 Jedi, leaving Naruto, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka in the room. The 3 Jedi sat on the chairs opposite of Naruto. Naruto was currently leaning on his hands with them crossed in front of him as if he was thinking. So, what do you wish to talk to me about? Naruto started with his emotionless voice in check. Why did you bring an entire division of soldiers here with you? Anakin asked, straight to the point. Do you really wish to know? Then let me ask you first before answering your question, why are you here? Naruto countered. We were sent here to monitor your movements and figure out why you were here, and if possible, arrest you, Obi-Wan confessed. The other 2 Jedi looked at him in shock. Naruto, on the other hand, didn't look surprised at all. Well, since I know you guys won't try any of that for the time being. Let me ask you another question, have you figured out where I was born? Naruto pressed further. Yes, we know that you were born here and we know of what you did before leaving this planet, Ahsoka said after hearing what happened from her masters on the way over here. And what do you think of what I did? Naruto asked. I think you are a deranged lunatic, Ahsoka said with anger in her voice. Naruto nodded calmly at this then turned to the other 2 Jedi in the room. Hoping that they got the meaning behind the war and what most people are just starting to figure on this world. We have seen the reason behind the bloodshed and agreed that it was bound to happen, whether or not it was controlled or not, Anakin said as Obi-Wan nodded in agreement. Ahsoka looked at the, shocked. What reason? He killed millions of innocent lives. What sort of reason is that? Ahsoka shouted. Anakin rubbed his temples in frustration. Look at this world before Naruto returned to it. The world was at peace and people were enjoying this to its fullest. Because of this war everyone had to come together to defeat him as thus, becoming close to each other. The once rivals that made up Leaf and Rock has all but disappeared since the end of the war, Anakin said. Ahsoka's eyes were wide in shock. So he basically made himself look evil in order to pull the people together so that they could defeat him. But then she realized something. Then why has Naruto revealed himself and bring all these spec troopers here with him? Ahsoka asked. That is why we are here. So, mind filling us in. We may be able to help, Obi-Wan said. Obi-Wan has long since trusted this man that sat in front of him. If he needed help then he would most definitely lend all he could to the man. The other two Jedi looked at him quizzingly. Naruto sighed. All right, I'll tell you, Obi-Wan, but only you, Naruto said. Surprising Anakin and Ahsoka. Why just him? Why can't you tell us? Ahsoka shouted. Anakin then placed a hand on her shoulder, surprising everyone in the room, including Naruto, even though he didn't show it. Let's respect Naruto's wishes and leave, Anakin said calmly as he stood and walked towards the door. Everyone was still shocked that Anakin didn't join Ahsoka in her ranting. Anakin walked out of the room soon followed by Ahsoka. Well, it seems your oldest apprentice has finally grown up, Naruto said calmly. Obi-Wan nodded his head with a smile. So it seems, Obi-Wan replied as he turned to Naruto. On with business I assume, Naruto said emotionlessly. Before we do that, Obi-Wan cut in. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. I want to learn more about you as do I wish to tell you about myself. I don't want to get involved in this if I have no idea who I'm working with, Obi-Wan said in a sincere voice. Naruto smiled at this. Naruto knew that Obi-Wan trusted him so the least he could do was trust him back. Okay, let's learn more about each other, Naruto said with a grin. The first emotion Obi-Wan has seen from the man since he first met him. XXXXX. Sasuke was waking up a similar way that our young Padawan was on the X Islands. Ouch, what happened? Sasuke asked as he rubbed his head. Sasuke looked around to see that he was in the hospital with Itachi, Sakura, and all the rest of the rookie 9 in his room. You're awake, Sakura shouted and hugged Sasuke. Sasuke embraced his wife and gently let go. What happened? How long was I out? Sasuke asked. You were out for a couple of days and you fought Naruto, remember? Itachi said emotionlessly. Oh, right, Sasuke said as he remembered how he reacted to Naruto's return. In his thoughts, it was pathetic. So, Naruto is back and he now the leader of Sound once more, Shikamaru said out loud. Yup, what do you guys think of this? Neji asked. I think I feel better when we got our asses beat while up against him, Kiba said. True, but what are we to do about him having a seat of power? It is already known throughout the elemental nations that Naruto is the Otokage once more, Shikamaru said. Do you know anything of what Naruto is doing? Sasuke asked. Yes, to a certain degree. My contact in Sound was killed yesterday, Shikamaru replied. I see. Well, what did you get? Sasuke asked once more. It seems that Naruto's starting to rebuild up his forces and stockpiling weapons for war, Shikamaru said grimly. It was silent in the room for another couple of seconds. Is Naruto really going to go through with this? Tenten asked. What do you mean? Choji asked. Is really going to throw us into another war that will kill off so many people? Tenten asked again. I don't know, but nevertheless we need to be ready for whatever happens, Sasuke said. And what do you purpose we do? Itachi asked. We need to do exactly what Naruto is doing. Stockpile weapons while rebuilding our ninja force, Sasuke said plainly to the group. Neji, send a message to the other nations and tell them to start rebuilding their forces in case of another assault. This time, we will be ready for anything that they throw at us, Sasuke said with confidence that they will stop Naruto from attacking them again. Naruto humiliated the world once, it won't happen a second time. XXXXX. That's ingenious Naruto. I'm almost certain that plan will work, Obi-Wan praised. Over the course of the meeting Obi-Wan and Naruto got to know each other better and were now considered friends. Obi-Wan knew of everything that was going to happen and let Naruto know that he had his full support, including his fleet's support as well. Thank you Obi-Wan, but of your allies outside the room? Naruto questioned. They will follow until they deem it useless, but until then I will tell them what you are going to try and do, but leave some things out, Obi-Wan said. Of course. Note that they aren't a part of this whole ordeal though. They won't be intertwined like we are, Naruto said. Obi-Wan sighed. Yes, I know, but, at least it's for the best, Obi-Wan said as he looked at the door where Anakin and Ahsoka left through. Naruto smiled at this. You will make a great ally, Obi-Wan, Naruto said as he stood and walked over to said person and outstretched a hand. Same to you, Naruto, Obi-Wan replied as he took Naruto's hand. Then welcome to Yoinkachi, my friend, Naruto said with a grin that matched Obi-Wan's. XXXXX you know the plan Obi-Wan, Naruto said as the door opened to reveal Anakin and Ahsoka. Of course, Obi-Wan said with a smile. The two Jedi looked at Obi-Wan in confusion. What plan? Ahsoka asked. None of your concern young one, Obi-Wan said while rubbing the top of her head. Obi-Wan, if you would please, Naruto said as he motioned for him to follow him. Oh, of course, please report back to the ship. I will be there in a bit, Obi-Wan commanded before turning and following Naruto down the hall in the opposite direction. Where do we go? Ahsoka shouted while the two rounded the corner. The same way you came in. Obi-Wan shouted. What does he mean? Ahsoka asked before someone tapped her and Anakin on the shoulder. The two turned around. Oh Anakin said before the end of a rifle was then smashed into their faces. XXXXX. When are the preparations going to be ready? Dooku asked one of the tactician droids in the room. We have about 1 week until we are ready to attack the planet, the droid responded. Perfect. Are the blueprints to the natives' movements programmed into the commando droids? Dooku asked. Yes sir. We will be attacking with them since these people's skills rely on speed and the only droids fast enough to be programmed to match their speed would be commando droids, the droid said. As to be expected. Anything else I should know? Dooku asked. Not as of now, the droid replied. Then you are dismissed, Dooku commanded as the droid left the room. XXXXX 5 days later. Are the bombing plans ready? Naruto asked a sound general that was in his office. The mansion that was Sound's Otokage tower was completely destroyed. After Naruto's death, the sound ninja that remained kept fighting until the allies killed them all. These days of combat were soon tried to be forgotten, but everyone knew and the common people frowned upon the ninja that day. The battle that followed Naruto's death was known as the Battle of the Bloody Tears. XXXXX flashback. Cheers could be heard from the courtyard of the tower as the allies cheered out in victory over the death of the leader of Sound. The Sound side was shocked. How could their godlike leader die so suddenly? The two sides then looked at each other, one with a victorious grin and the other with tears in their eyes. The first line of men raised their hands in defeat, but was shocked when the allied side didn't put down their weapons. Let's finish the job, one ninja said with a bloodthirsty grin. Yeah, let's finish the job and wipe this scum off the face of the planet, another said as the allied side then charged the Sound ninja. The Sound ninja were shocked. The allies won, why are they still attacking? The Sound ninja put down their hands and began to defend themselves. The line that was drawn at the middle of the courtyard was then fully back into combat as the allies wanted to kill the remaining regime that was Naruto. This is insane, one Sound ninja shouted as he blocked another swipe to his throat and pushed a leaf ninja off of him. Why are we still fighting? Another cried out as he stood across from a random Sand ninja. Because scum like you deserve to die before you bring back the evil that was Naruto, the Sand ninja replied and charged at the Sound ninja. Slowly, the line was being pushed back towards the tower as the Sound ninja were falling back completely. The two sides fought other what seemed like fortifications for gunners, but when they saw the massive battle in the middle turn into a hand-to-hand battle they were quickly abandoned and replaced inside the massive mansion. XXXXX. Why we still fighting? Naruto is dead, Lee shouted as he looked over the edge of the mansion to see fighting once again ensuing the courtyard. Well, whatever the reason, we got to get down there and help. Kiba yelled. But Naruto is dead, Sakura said. But they aren't. Now let's get to fighting. Kiba shouted as he jumped over the edge and into the fight. Everyone shook their heads and jumped over the edge as well while Itachi discarded his cloak and jumped off and away from the battle. XXXXX. Damn it, what are we going to do? A random rock ninja shouted as the gunners at the top of the stairs and in the windows of the mansion poured more kunai at them. Suddenly Kiba landed next to the man and rushed behind the cover next to him. So, everyone out of explosive tags? Kiba shouted in question. Yes sir, we used them all while fighting in the courtyard. The ninja replied. Well then, lucky you, Kiba said with a grin as he pulled out a big bundle of explosive tags and stuck them to a kunai. Kiba quickly threw the kunai at the top of the stairs. Since the explosive tags were bundled up and Kiba wanted it to explode all at once, the timer for the kunai was going to last longer than a normal kunai would. The kunai stuck into the side of a sandbag with a gunner directly behind it. The gunner looked over the sandbag to see a massive bundle of explosion tags burning in front of him. Hee, that will learn him, Kiba said with a snicker, but stopped when a kunai with a half-burned bundle of explosion tags smacked the sandbags just above him. Oh hell no, Kiba shouted as he took hold of the kunai and threw it right back. Kiba saw the same gunner grab the kunai again and throw it back, but this time a massive explosion blasted in between the two sides, blowing back the sections of sandbags and the occupants. Go, get your ass moving, this is our chance, a ninja shouted as all the allied ninja jumped over their cover and towards the gunners. The gunners never stopped firing as the allied ninja ran up the steps towards the doors of the mansion. Once the ninja almost made it to the gunners' sandbags, the gunners grabbed their guns and started to run away. Oh no you don't, Neji shouted as he was almost to the sandbags, but was cut short when Sound ninja started to stream over the sandbags. The allied ninja quickly went into hand-to-hand as more ninja began to come out of the open doors of the Otokage tower. The fighting ensued for at least 1 more hour until the Sound finally couldn't withstand the numbers that made up the allies. Sakura was healing a wounded bird ninja when something caught her ear. This is the last of the reserves. Make them last, a Sound commander shouted as more Sound ninja ran out of the door and into the fray. The doors were soon closed and locked behind them. Fighting continued until there were only 50 Sound ninja left fighting around the door to the tower. My god, this is it, we die for Naruto-sama. A Sound ninja shouted with tears in their eyes as they were cut down by the allied ninja. The rookies were shocked at the brutality of the allied ninja in the face of victory. As the ninja walked over the dead bodies of the Sound ninja, spat on a dead body. Serves them right, a mist ninja said with venom in his voice. Neji sighed next to his friends. What is it? Tenten asked. This battle is still going on because everyone feels that Sound should pay for all the damage that was done to their villages. This is why the fighting continues, Neji said as explosive tags were being placed onto the door of the tower. So that's why this madness is still continuing. Revenge, Sakura said. But, it doesn't matter. These ninja aren't going to stop until everything that even resembles anything that has to do with Naruto is destroyed, a familiar voice from behind them said. They turned to see the last person they thought they would see. Kakashi-sensei, Sakura shouted as she noticed that he still had his headband tied over his left eye. Yo, Kakashi said with a lazy wave. What are you doing here? Hinata asked. Well, once Itachi took out my Sharingan eye back in Konoha, Tsunade found me a new eye that dying man wanted to give me, Kakashi said. Oh, well then let's see it, Sakura said as the last of the explosives were placed on the door. Later, maybe when we fight on the upper stories, Kakashi said with a grin and a eye smile. Why the upper stories? Choji asked. You'll see, Kakashi said just before the door was blown open and a torrent of kunai flew out the door and into the poor ninja standing in front of it. XXXXX. The battle over Otokage Tower lasted 20 days. The Sound ninja were scared of surrender and fought until the death for every room up until the last 3 floors with the third from the top floor being completely vacant. Once a number of allied ninja were inside, honor guards sealed them inside and threw poison gas bombs into the sealed floor. All the ninja inside were killed, and once Shikamaru unsealed the seal locking them inside, they found all the ninja dead. Nevertheless, the allies pushed onward with one true goal: eliminate all of the honor guards hiding on the last 2 floors. Fighting intensified as the allies very slowly pushed the honor guards back to Otokage office. As the rookies walked up the steps into the door, huddled around the door with several ninja behind them. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Choji shouted and enlarged his hands and smashed the door down, but quickly took a step back. Wah, what happened here? Tenten stuttered as they looked around the room. There were at least 15 dead honor guards straight across the room with kunai stuck in their throats. Who killed them? Lee asked as they spread out through the room. Nobody killed them, Kakashi said. The others looked at him quizzingly. This was mass suicide for our only great leader, a voice said from the other side of the room. Everyone looked over to the other side of the room to see a Yonkachi member standing with his massive blade on his back. A Yonkachi member, Hinata said, surprised. I thought all of you ran away and out of the city, Kiba said in a mocking tone. Most of us did, but I will die here where my leader once led this great country. I will die and meet up with him in the heavens above, the Yonkachi member said as he unsheathed his sword. Fine, but it's your funeral, Kiba said as the man discarded his hat to reveal an old enemy. Nice to see you again, see-through Kakashi, Zabuza said with a smile. Nice to meet you. Wait. How did you know? Kakashi shouted. Naruto knew all and Naruto saw all, including you, Zabuza said. What does he mean, see-through Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked. Kakashi sighed and lifted his headband to reveal the infamous Byakugan. The Byakugan. Neji and Hinata cried out at the same time. Yes, while the war was raging on, I utilized and trained with Hiashi on how to use the Dujutsu and finally learned my limits where yours is different from mine, Kakashi said. Like you can still see through objects and you can still see chakra points, but you can't see 360 degrees around you. Zabuza said. How do you know all this? Kakashi shouted. Like I said, Naruto knew and saw all, Zabuza said as 10 honor guards ran up the stairs and quickly sealing the door behind them. The 10 turned to see that there were already 20 ninja already inside. Ah, Zabuza-sama, I guess we are the last of them, a honor guard said with sadness in his voice. So it seems. If these allied butchers can't accept peace when Naruto-sama died, then we will soon meet him and our fallen brothers in heaven, Zabuza said as he charged the ninja inside the room. The honor guards soon followed suit. The only place you'll being is straight to hell for what sound did. Kiba shouted as he blocked one of the honor guards while Kakashi blocked Zabuza. Is that so? Zabuza said as he pushed Kakashi back. Then you still need to think of what actual happened. As Naruto-sama used to say, look underneath the underneath. Kakashi soon engaged Zabuza while the rookies and other ninja engaged with the 10 honor guards. The battle that followed was bloody and grueling as the other ninja in room died along with the 10 honor guards, leaving a dying Zabuza and the rookies and Kakashi. So, you think you just won and was able to dig into our leader's secret vault, Zabuza said as he kneeled in front of the rookies and their senseis, as they arrived soon after the honor guards died, on the roof outside. The battle that ensued extended to roof soon after it began when Kiba used his signature technique and busted through the wall. We will learn of everything that Naruto did what he has invented, Neji said with a victorious grin, but that was soon wiped off his face when Zabuza began to laugh hysterically. What's so funny? Lee asked, but soon noticed the invisible wire extending into the mansion. You didn't, Lee said, the others noticing as well. I'm going to take all of the leaders' hard work to the grave with me. Including all the allied ninja inside. Zabuza shouted with a crazed look in his eye. Everyone, jump off the side. Now, Kakashi shouted, but they didn't need to be told twice. As soon as the ninja were off the edge, an enormous explosion erupted throughout the mansion, starting at the bottom and slowly going up. Kakashi turned to look at Zabuza, who was still kneeling down on the ground while looking at the ninja who jumped over the edge from over his shoulder. Kakashi's eyes widened when he was smiling, a true smile with a single tear falling down his face. Zabuza soon turned and looked at the door and extended his hands out to his sides and lifted his face into the air and closed his eyes and waited for the soft whips of the flames to overtake him. The Konoha ninja landed on the ground and rolled as to not break any bones. They soon bolted out of there and turned to see the mansion collapsing in around itself. So, this is it, Kakashi said. What? Guy asked. This is Naruto's last will, Kakashi said. What was it? Guy pressed. For no one to ever learn of the dark secrets that were locked inside that mansion that reeked of death and madness, Kakashi said as the others stood in a line to observe Naruto's last symbol go up in an explosion that even the heavens above and the hell underneath would be proud of. XXXXX end of flashback. You know what to do, Naruto said as the general nodded and walked out of his new office that was this time in an actual tower. Naruto turned around in his chair and looked out the window that had a great view of the entire city. I'll show the world that letting your guard down has its consequences, Naruto thought as the bombers were getting prepped to leave. XXXXX still can't believe he's back, Sasuke mumbled to his older brother as they sat atop their favorite Hokage head to stare into the cloudy sky that threatened to rain. They were on the Yondomi and the third's noses. I know the feeling, Itachi replied. You still never told me about what you and Naruto did while in Akatsuki and Yonkachi, Sasuke said. And you never will. I told you, I don't remember anything while under his occupation, Itachi said. I know, but it's so frustrating not knowing what you two did. Sasuke shouted in annoyance. So am I, Itachi replied. The two were enjoying a peaceful silence before what they thought would be a deadly war with sound. Suddenly, there was a bright flash and then several blue balls flew out of the cloudy sky and into the village, resulting in an explosion. A streaking noise was heard and a metal object streaked past the two brothers that were now standing. They could only watch as more blue balls slammed into their village's areas caught on fire. No, Sasuke mumbled as Itachi was wide-eyed. Naruto never mentioned this. Could this be? Itachi thought as he tried to spot an allegiance that these planes with his Mangekyo Sharingan, but noticed that they bore no allegiance. Sasuke was also doing the same thing. Do you think this could belong to one of the many inventions that Sasuke said, that I invented? The two brothers looked up to the top of the heads to see Naruto looking out over his old home. Naruto, did you do this? Sasuke asked in anger. Possibly, but from the looks of it, Naruto said in his emotionless tone before looking Sasuke in the eye with full-force Jujutsu activated and as two more metal objects screeched past him. You need to make some weapons to stop these bombs from hitting your precious people. Sasuke growled as he glared at Naruto while Naruto only grinned back. A vicious wind blew and lightning strike erupted in the background as the rain started to fall. You know, when fought back at the front of the gate, I was only shocked. I could beat you now, Sasuke said with a smirk. Naruto shook his head and turned. Maybe one day, Naruto said before disappearing from his spot on the top of the hill. The two brothers then looked back at the village to see fire coming from several areas of the village. The bombing from the unknown object has ceased, at least for now. What are we going to do? It's your orders, Itachi said. Care to the wounded and let's rebuild the village. Then, we will do test among test to find out how we are going to beat this new threat from the skies, and, Sasuke said with determination in his voice, call the cages together. We need to talk. XXXXX Land of Iron, 1 week later. I say sound is behind all this. Yichi shouted as the others looked to him for an explanation. As did Kohono was bombed from skies, the other villages were also bombed along with other large cities scattered throughout the lands. Although the bombs didn't do much damage, they still shook the nations a bit. And why do you say that? What proof do you have? The leader of samurai forces asked to the young Kage. The 10 cages leaf, stone, water, lightning, sand, star, rain, bird, swamp, and waterfall were sitting in a half circle with an empty seat next to the cage. Who else could invent something that would distribute destruction in such a quick amount of time? Yichi shouted. But what if it isn't? Gaara said. What do you mean? Are you siding with Naruto now? Yichi cried. Please calm yourself, Tsuchikage. Please, continue, the Iron Leader said. Thank you. What if Sound wasn't behind the attacks? It is said that Sound was also bombed that night as well, so why would they bomb themselves? Gaara asked. Mumbles could be heard throughout the room. But what if it was just one large genjutsu that Sound put over their village? They did it before when we were trying to find the city, the Mizukage suggested. That is a possibility, but are unable to rule out that it may not be Sound or Rain. They have been great allies before Naruto came back and hopefully they may change Naruto for the better, Sasuke said. And so they have, familiar voice said as he walked into the room, followed by one red-cloaked man and another Yonkachi member. Otokage, how did you get in here? The Iron Leader asked. None of your concern. So, I see that you all were bombed as well. Naruto said as he looked over the group while the bodyguards were ready to pounce at any second. Naruto, why are you here? You were uninvited, Sasuke said with a hint of anger and confusion in his eyes. Well, this meeting was called to discuss the bombings, correct? Well, several of my cities were bombed so I think I'm allowed to join as well, Naruto said as he took a seat next to Gaara while the two honor guards jumped to the railing where the bodyguard stood. A flag soon unraveled behind him like the others that had the symbol for Sound sketched on it. So that's why the empty seat is there, the Mizukage said. Yes, I prepared for the random occasion that the Otokage may have shown up. They are the people being blamed here, the leader for Iron said. So, they are already blaming me for what happened. As to be expected, but I plan to dash all ill intents away from me, Naruto said. And how do you plan to do that? Sasuke asked. I have already made a weapon that could possibly shoot down these fast metal objects, Naruto said. I think you're lying. How could you come up with a weapon that quick while the 5 of us are not even close to finding a weapon? Yichi said with venom. Don't underestimate us, Naruto said, making Yichi even more angry. In fact, I think we brought one with us. Really, you really brought one of these devices with you? Sasuke asked. Yes, and I'm willing to share this new technology with you if simply do one favor for me, Naruto said. And what would that be? Sasuke asked. He wants our land. I refuse to do any business with this madman. Yichi shouted. Please calm down, Yichi. If Naruto is able to help us then let him, Sasuke said. Yichi looked at Sasuke and slowly sat back into his seat. So, let's see this new technology, Sasuke said. Please follow me, Naruto said before standing and walking out the door. Everyone else soon followed him out of the room. Once outside, they saw another metal object that was mounted to the ground. It had 4 metal barrels that was able to point into the air. What is this? Gaara asked. This, my cage, is my latest invention. The anti-aircraft weapon Mark II. Otherwise known as the AA Mark II, Naruto said, visibly pleased with himself. How does it work? Sasuke asked. The weapon shoots in rotation. The top left and the bottom right before going to the top right to the bottom left. Grove's inside barrel spins the kunai, making the kunai straighter, Naruto said as his 2 honor guards sat down on 2 of the seats. They then started to shoot kunai off into the air. Blue fires soon spurt from the barrel and into the air. I have a few questions, Sasuke asked. Naruto hummed. The machines that bombed our villages moved much faster than the normal eye. How would the general ninja hit these fast-moving targets? Sasuke asked. The key is in the ammunition, Naruto said as he picked up one of the large kunai. The kunai was about the side of his forearm and had what looked to be a copper point. You see the point? It looks to be made of a different metal. Well, it is. What is it made of? On the end of this large kunai is a metal that is now in full production in Sound. The metal is a highly attractive magnet that is able to be fused with chakra in order to heighten the magnet's capabilities, Naruto said. So that is why there was blue fire coming out of the weapon, Gaara said. Correct. That is why there is two others sitting next to the gunner. They are the loaders, as well as provide chakra to the shooter because the shooter is the only one who can detect the moving targets, Naruto explained. Why is that? Sasuke asked. Because the person is the one trained to fire the weapon more accurately. But, moving on, the chakra that is poured into the weapon is also transmitted into a chamber that changes the chakra into fire that, when released, explodes and rocketing the kunai out of the barrel. Once this kunai hits a target, the explosive notes that are sealed inside explode on contact, Naruto explained. All this seems to take a lot of chakra, Ichi said. Naruto sighed. Yes, it does. That is why you must find men and women that are going to able to provide this much chakra. Find the powerhouses of your village and train them in using this weapon, Naruto said. Are you willing to share these weapons with the rest of us? Sasuke asked, a little surprised. Yes, everyone was lighting up, if you are willing to listen to what I have to say. And that would be, Gaara asked. I know the people that attacked you. I have met them once before and they plan on taking over this world and making slaves out of all of us, Naruto said seriously. The people present were shocked. Mixed expressions were present amongst the cages and bodyguards. Before we make any decisions, let's discuss where you have been all, the Iron Leader started, but was stopped when Ichi charged Naruto. Naruto only stared as Ichi took out his blade and poured chakra into it. About halfway into the charge, the other Yonkachi soon stopped the attacker by pulling out a blue lightsaber and clashing swords with the cage. Tsuchikage, calm yourself, Gaara exclaimed. Don't you see he is bullshitting all of us? How could all of this happen? Ichi shouted. If you want to condemn your people to death then so be it. I do not work with people like you. Although I'm willing to give a second chance. Stop this aggressiveness and you may join us in the talks to come, Naruto said. Ichi only got angrier at this. You are all fools to listen to him. He is going to get you all killed. Ichi shouted before leaving with his two bodyguards. Naruto shook his head. And so the stubborn leader choose death instead of resisting, Naruto said as he walked past the other Yonkachi that stopped the attack. Thank you, Obi-Wan. XXXXX. After hours of talking and the others finally knowing almost everything, they were finally able to come to an agreement. The others learned of the true meaning behind the war as well as what Naruto has learned of the enemy that bombed their cities. Naruto also explained that he has contacts that willing to help in the war to come. So it is agreed then, Naruto will be the leader of this new alliance, the Iron Leader said. Note that there is no neutrality in this war. Everyone is in it, no exceptions, Naruto said. Yes, we are also in this war as well, the Iron Leader said with a sigh. Great, I will start to distribute the AA Mark IIs immediately as well as an instructor to teach your men. Remember what areas your men must cover and reinforce. Lightning will help star, water will help wave, leaf will help the people in between sand and yourself as well as grass, rain will help bird, sand will try and cover as much desert as possible, sound will help swamp and waterfall. I think iron will have to cover as much land as possible in this dangerous climate. Good luck everyone, Naruto said as he stood and walked out of the room, followed by everyone else. The doors opened with Naruto in the front of the group followed by the rest of the cages and their bodyguards with the snow blowing against them. Phase 1 completed, Naruto thought with a grin. Another secret that would go to the grave with him. XXXXX. I know this chapter wasn't very long, but they will get more exciting later on, I promise. This is the calm before the storm don't you know. Carrot carrot.